We give out blankets too. I would probably use it up there sometimes. I think it's cool sometimes. I usually bring a blanket.
That's a good idea. Put in a rec for that.
Okay.
Yes, we like blankets
I
for
have-
support staff.
I'm being absolutely serious. I got more blankets than I know what to do with. Like these at my house. I'll bring them
I have a big bucket.
Keep them close.
in. I tell you, I want to switch these chairs out with those chairs, especially when we go into the budget season, like, you know, when we're doing committees. I can't stand, I can't sit here. Like when we first were here during the previous administration, and we were sitting here 3 hours a night, that was killing me.
Yeah.
My back was killing me. I wouldn't fall asleep till 1 in the morning. I'm doing that. I'm bringing those over next time.
Well, the budget hearings though,
Yeah, you say yes.
No, I'm saying when we have those long, I should have said
Oh, yeah.
finance committee
Yeah,
meetings.
yeah.
When we have those long finance meetings.
All right.
Do I have to sign anything? No one
Not
did anything?
today.
No one did anything but
No,
this?
zip it. Zip it. Any extra words we know.
I think everyone.
You don't want 55 of them. Well,
Yeah, right.
we'll have enough.
Okay. Have you ever seen me eat at days? I can't eat one at a time.
I love that.
Me too.
This big bowl.
I'm a big old slob.
I should have the microphones. Buttery.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council meeting. The time is now 5:06, and the Finance Committee is called to order. Need acceptance of the minutes from the committee meeting held. There are none. Before we get started with the meeting, two announcements that I want to make. One is I've received a text from the council president, and he is tied up in a meeting at this time. He will try to get here as soon as he can. All right, so you all know. The other item, or the other announcement I want to make, is regarding the healthcare bid. Um, 2020-008. We will not be hearing that this evening. We'll be holding that item. The actuaries, I should say, the parties who are doing the presentation are not going to be attending this evening, and I'm also waiting for additional information that I have requested. So just to let you all know that, we will be holding this until the meeting, the second meeting in May. That is May 20th. Item number 2009-280, Greenwich Yard Waste Program, found on page 1. Hello, Christy.
Good evening. Christy Moretti, Department of Public Works. The department is requesting to extend the expiration of the current contract with the town of East Greenwich to accept their yard waste of $12.50 a ton up to 600 ton per period to expire May 26, 2020.
Christy, when did this go out for bid last? What was the last time of the contract?
This is actually to my knowledge, it began as a 56.6 because it's strictly with the town of East Greenwich, it's revenue generated for us to accept up to 600 ton. I think it was probably fiscal year 2009 or 2008, judging by the bid number.
So as of 2009, we have not gone up on that price that we're being paid of $12.50 a ton?
No,
Why is that?
I don't have any, that was because it's, I would imagine because it's a 612 every year and it's just an extension to the contract, that the contract terms haven't changed at all. It hasn't been renegotiated with East Greenwich or,
So we receive 600 tons of yard waste from the town of East Greenwich,
up to, yes.
up to
Yep.
600. So we'll use 600. And we say that's a revenue stream. So what is our expense associated with receiving that 600 tons?
It doesn't cost us anything. They get their trucks weighed. I believe in the town of North Kingston, they use their weigh station. They come to, with their slip to the compost facility, and that's where they dump it. So for us, it's, we generate revenue there as well by selling wood chips, compost, that sort of thing.
But we don't have to lift a finger, we don't have to touch it, we don't have to
No.
load it in trucks or nothing. They
No.
come and dump it, that's it, we're done.
Their trucks or however it gets, I would assume it's East Greenwich trucks, they bring it to us. We don't have to do anything.
And then, excuse me, I'm sorry, then you say we sell it?
Along with our own, yes, once it's, all mixed and however they do that out there with the compost, yes, we do sell it.
Sure. Do you know, are there any other communities that do something similar to this?
Not to my knowledge.
And is there any particular reason why the city hasn't sat down with East Greenwich to renegotiate the fee that we're being paid for? It's 2009, that was like 10 years ago.
That's not something that I would specifically have an answer. Maybe the director could speak to that, or
Okay. And this is a one-year request?
yes.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Sir?
Quick question. You said that they load it up, they weigh it, and then they bring it to us, and we go on their word of what the weight is. I'm not saying I'm just questioning the process.
We get a weigh slip. They bring the weigh slips to us that from the town of North Kingston must have a scale.
Oh, okay.
They bring the slips to us, so we know what the truck weighs empty, and then obviously we.
So they go from East Greenwich, to North Kingston to Warwick?
Yes, they used to weigh at D'Ambra, but since they moved, they don't have that luxury anymore. So that's probably the next closest scale to them, I would imagine.
Okay, and I was going to ask the exact same question that you answered. That's, that it was still getting paid $12.50 a ton since 2009. So, thank you.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Second.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2016-171, State of Rhode Island Software Government. It's found on page 6.
Good evening. Phil Carlucci, MIS Director.
Oh, excuse me, Phil, excuse me, just 1 minute. Christie, I'm sorry, I did have one other question, sorry. Christie, in looking at this contract, or recommended contract between the city of Warwick and the town of East Greenwich, the document that we have in our binder has not been signed by any official from the town of East Greenwich.
No.
Why is that?
We needed to get approval from the city council prior to having anything executed.
Nothing gets executed until it's authorized by the city.
Correct. But we have to request permission from the council to enter into this contract for another year. So once we get the permission and it's approved by this council, the resolution signed by the mayor, we'll then send the contract to the town of East Greenwich. They'll sign it, our mayor will sign it, and then it's completed.
Okay, so at the end of the day, this is going to be accepted as is by the mayor?
Yes, but it
Okay.
has to have council approval prior to that.
In its content?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. Phil?
Good evening. For the record, Phil Carlucci, MIS Director. This first request I have is under City Ordinance 612 to increase the existing bid 2016-171 by $102,751 for a new authorized total of $379,080.80. I would like to take the opportunity to remind everyone that this is a 4-year expense total, so it's not all done in 1 year. This is off of the state's master price agreement, number 227, which runs through June 30th, 2020. I have the software listed there. It's all pretty standard software. We have Power PDF, which is just our PDF reader, for $330. We have a 3-year Exchange server, so our email system throughout the entire city. The Solar Wind products have to do with our network monitoring and control. And then Sophos is our security package that we use for web browsing security, defense, and email security. And this bid does, as I mentioned, expire on June 30th, 2020.
And Phil, is this replacing something that was in place before?
No, actually, it's a continuation. These services, they're just standard software that we use, and there are renewal prices for support and additional services that we need for, like, email security and things along those lines.
And why are you requesting a 4-year extension?
I'm sorry?
Why are you requesting a 4-year contract?
Oh, this isn't. These are the Exchange server 3-year, you get the pricing that way.
Okay.
And you buy it in 3-year increments. The 4-year total has just been running 1 year at
All
a
right.
time. Most of these are 1 year. They're marked on different dates that they go through.
And this expires in June 2020?
Correct.
Okay. I thought
The
I
end
heard
of
you say
June
something about
2020.
4 years, so.
No.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Just state your name for the record, please.
Rob Cody, Ward 7. Councilman, first of all, I'd like to preface my comment by saying thank you for holding the item on the health care. That's helpful.
Thank you.
But I'm going to make this comment, which would be the comment that I would make at every one of the other expenditures that are before us tonight, including this one. I don't think that this council and that this committee should move favorable action on any of these expenditures at all. I think it's totally fiscally irresponsible to do so, because the fact of the matter is, as of tonight, we do not have a 5-year projection on our financial status. We don't have a fiscal note. And more importantly, as of April 30th, we've missed the deadline for the second time for the city's audit to be produced to the general auditor of the state of Rhode Island. So there's no way that anybody here could quantify what our financial position is right now. You don't know how much money we have. We don't know the expenses, and this is a 4-year bid. So I think it's totally improper.
This is not a 4-year bid. He just testified to it. It's a 1-year bid.
No, I thought he said it was a 4-year bid. This has been going on. It's going on 4 years. So
1-year bid.
Having said that, even, the fact of the matter is, we don't know our financial position. And the only financial position that's been put forth was put forth by former Councilman Cushman with great analysis, which shows us, like, we're in deep trouble. So how can we move forward on spending money when we don't have the necessary tools to see how much money we could spend? As a businessman, you know it's just like writing a check and a checkbook that you don't know what the balance is. So I would say this for every one of the expenditures that are going before you tonight. I don't think anybody, any council member should approve any of the expenditures until that data is produced by the taxpayers, because after all, we're the ones paying the bill. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I missed the beginning. Are we talking about the healthcare bid right now that you held?
No.
Okay, so can I ask a question about that?
No.
Because I just texted
You can
our
ask the
city-
question about the current bid, and if you want to stay until we get to that healthcare bid, you can ask
So
the
even though
question.
you held it, that's what I wanted to ask,
I'm holding it.
Councilman. So the public can still ask questions on it
No,
tonight
I'm
because
holding
you
that
posted
bid. There
it?
is no one here to answer questions. We certainly don't have the information that we have required, so you
Sure.
can ask
But
and
the public doesn't
comment
know that,
everything that you...
Councilman.
What's that?
The public doesn't know that until we get here, and there are people that came here tonight prepared to ask questions.
I understand
And
that.
it was posted, so by law, you have to post that publicly, the state and on the city.
Have to post what? First of all, you know what? Stop.
Okay.
Do you want to speak to this item that's on here right now?
I want to
You're
know
welcome
for
speak to it.
public, before I sit around and waste my time tonight, I came here specifically to ask the questions on healthcare. I'd like to know now, please, if the public can ask the questions.
already spoke to this at the beginning of the meeting. I told you it's going to be held. We're going to have a
So the-
conversation.
Okay.
We are going to have a conversation on 2016-171. If you'd like to speak to that, I'll be more than happy to allow you to do so. I'm not speaking about something else that we haven't gotten to yet.
Okay, so when you get to it, this is what I need to know, for time purposes, okay, because I'm a taxpayer who came here tonight prepared to ask
understand.
questions, so I'm asking you politely, and to get a clear answer, from my understanding, taxpayers have the right to still ask the questions when you decide at the last minute to hold a bid. Are we going to be able to do that tonight?
Counselor, give me an opinion on that, please.
As far as the posting requirements under state law, it's been duly posted following anything that has to do with potential action or inaction. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that something would be done, but under the Open Meetings Act, you have to put forward advance notice of anything that could be acted upon, and that was, to my understanding, complied with appropriately through the clerk's office. As it pertains to speaking on something, Rule 20 of the council provides that you may be heard on a docketed resolution prior to passage. So while no action has been taken, we have not gotten to that item yet, and the committee has not made a formal decision. My understanding is the committee chair is presenting his intention reflective of the administration, and other pertinent folks are not here to present their matters. Rule 20 would still be complied with, provided that opportunity before any action is taken on it, which potentially could be at a later hearing date. Testimony would certainly be in order prior to any formal action and decision made by this committee.
So,
So can I
out
ask
of respect to the folks that did come here this evening for whatever items they came here to speak to, I announced at about 5:07 that for the reasons indicated, we would not be hearing that bill, and we would be holding it until the next meeting in May. So have I complied with the law?
You've complied with the Opens Meeting Act, and you are
Okay.
complying with the rules of the committee by indicating that I can read further about how you would refer someone to that committee at a later date, but it would still be complied with if people have an opportunity to be heard.
Okay. So the answer is, we will be holding this until May 20th. We will not be taking testimony this evening. When we hear this with the proper people here who can address questions and concerns and answer questions and concerns, you certainly will have the opportunity to speak and say and ask questions for whatever you'd like.
So the
will
public is
move-
just
we
supposed
are
to show
moving
up
on-
here? Excuse me, Councilman.
Yes.
So the public, the taxpayers, okay, when they expect to come before you, when we see something on a dock, we went through this before, we went through it at the police station, that just happened a few months ago, and it was ruled by the city council solicitor that even when you decide to hold a bid, that the public still has the right to ask questions about that bid. So we could be coming here at the end of May, June, July, you could decide to hold a bid however long you want. You're inconveniencing the taxpayers, and that shouldn't be happening. If you have a bid on the docket, and just because you decided and the administration isn't here tonight, that's their problem. The taxpayers are here tonight to ask questions.
I didn't
We're
say,
prepared.
excuse me, I didn't say the administration wasn't
You
here.
said the people from the administration aren't here tonight, or the people from
No,
the
I did not- I did
healthcare,
not
whoever
say
isn't
that.
here tonight, okay? We're here, and we would still like to ask questions on that item.
There is no one here to answer the questions.
Is the
So-
the head of finance here? Isn't he supposed to be here? The head of the directors are supposed to be here.
We just heard from the solicitor,
Yeah.
and the answer is, we will not be taking testimony on that this evening. Go ahead, Mr. Cody.
Councilman, if I could just bring some light on this. If you remember, we had the same situation over at the police department a few months ago. And this stemmed from 2 years ago when the city council solicitor, Mr. Harrington, actually made the decision under state law, if it goes on the docket, you do not have to answer questions, but as long as it's on the docket, the residents have a right to comment. You can't ask questions if there's people here. Now, if you remember, I challenged you on that when we were talking about the medical examinations, and you went to Mr. Harrington, and he gave you his recommendation according to state law, and then you also went to the council president, and it was upheld at that time, again, in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. If it makes the council agenda, people have the right to comment. They do not necessarily have the right to question you about the content of that, but it's been upheld twice. So, and I don't have a dog in this fight either way. But I don't want to see a precedent being made now, because this was made before with Councilwoman Wilkinson, where she said, oh, we're going to hold this, no one can speak about it. That's a direct violation of the Open Meetings Act of the Rhode Island state law, and that has been upheld by Mr. Harrington twice, and also by Councilman Marola. So I would suggest that if there are people here that want to comment on that, and not get into a long diatribe or ask specific questions, let them comment on it, and then be over with it. That's because the precedent was set at the police station about this item, and that's all I have to say.
Excuse me. Councilor?
I would just recommend that this would be more appropriate in the setting when the item is officially before us for any further conversation, while we're currently on bid
Okay,
2016-171.
I'm going to take the advice of City Council. We will, so your suggestion is to move along the calendar when we get to that particular bid?
We've moved beyond the contents of the bid before us.
Okay. 2016-171. Any other comments? That is found on page 6. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2019-186, State of Rhode Island computer equipment, found on page 18.
Evening. This is a request to increase the monetary award on bid number 2019-186 by $53,130 for a new authorized total of $103,130. And this award would complete the approved budgeted hardware expenditures for the 2019 fiscal year. I'd like to comment on this one. This bid is a piggyback off of the state bid. And having some conversations about pricing and making sure that something that was done at the state level held true for the equipment that we were buying, we went out to 4 vendors and requested them to quote common equipment that we buy. Most of the stuff we buy right now is toward the project of Microsoft is no longer going to support Windows 7, and they're doing that by the January of next year. We have to replace it. I believe 70-some% of our PCs are still running Windows 7. We have to move to Windows 10. So we have some fairly standard equipment. We did go out to 4 different vendors, ask them to quote on it. We got 3 responses back. All 3 were fairly close to each other, within, let's say, a few percent. However, it was good to find out that the vendor that we had been using off of the state bid did once again come in as the lowest price. So they once again, they held that position that they had done when they did the bid for the state. Going forward, we're going to look. For the 4th one, I had talked to Councilman Lattiser about going back to them and finding out why they didn't bid. Unfortunately,
Excuse me 1 minute, Phil. I don't know who's having the conversation in the back of the chamber, but if you could take that conversation out into the hallway, please. Go ahead, Phil.
that fourth one, I have called, we sent them the same emails, we followed up with them the same way. I have called them now on 2 occasions and have not gotten a return phone call. I was able to get someone to answer the phone today, but they said that the person I needed to speak to was out of the office, would be back later, they would call me, and I did not hear back to them. My intention is to continue on to push on that, only because it's a Warwick company, and I would love to see them at least get the opportunity to compete for the business.
So, you did your due diligence, you kind of did your own search for who's got the best numbers, et cetera, et cetera. So, what specifically are you requesting from us tonight?
Today, I'd like to increase the existing bid by $53,130 so that we can continue on replacing those PCs that have to be replaced in a timely fashion so we don't get caught at the end of the year with Microsoft pulling support on their product.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Sir.
Roy Dempsey, Ward 1. The gentleman just expressed, I guess, that the council has already looked at his proposed capital or computer purchases prior to this point, and that the council has brought in to what was required by this particular department. Is that correct?
It's not what I heard him say. Phil, would you address that?
Yeah, I believe I heard you say that the council has already looked at your requirements prior to this point as to what was going to be needed during the year. Other than the budget? During the budget year, during the budget presentation.
Yes, I wasn't here personally, but yes.
But you're saying that there was at that point a presentation made to the council regarding proposed capital expenditures by your department?
I don't think these qualify as capital expenditures, but the budget amount was reported. Now, I wasn't here, I shouldn't really speak to that, but I believe it was reported as all budgets.
And neither were at least one of our colleagues. So this is the previous budget hearing you're speaking about, Roy? Last year's budget hearing?
Well, I'm speaking...
When that budget was approved?
Yeah, the budget that's been approved.
That was last year.
Right, that these particular items were in that budget? Yes. Has there been a look, because of the financial distress that the city's under, has there been an additional look at these particular items to see that? Can we really bypass them for now? Do we really need them? And maybe has anyone taken another look at what's happening in this? Or is it just a matter of, at one point, when we know that particular numbers weren't accurate, that the council voted and approved the budget, which we obviously was wrong, and obviously the city is in financial distress since then, but we're approving items that were presented to you during a time when that information wasn't known. Don't you think the council would be better off taking an additional look at these before buying off and saying, yes, let's go at it? And this goes back to what someone came up previously, Mr. Cody, who came up and said, we don't have a plan going forward, but yet there's no reason why we can't do something currently with the items that we're seeing. And this is, I believe, one of them. I believe one of them that maybe you could take a second look at and not just say, and not just buy off on it. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Jay Bongiovanni, and I represent the Warwick Financial Crisis Committee. We ask that you table this bid for another occasion when you're aware of what your projected revenues and expenditures are going to be. It doesn't make sense to me, sir, how this committee can approve funding for projects when you don't even know what our future is going to be. $55,000 more for a bid, and I'm saying to myself, what about the senior citizens? What about the senior citizens that are going to take a hit on their taxes? That $53,000 saved would mean a lot. Due diligence, please. Wait until we have 5-year projected forecasts for revenues and expenditures before you make decisions on spending more of our money. It doesn't make sense. If I'm told that my income is questionable, and I don't know what my income's going to be, but I know what my expenditures are going to be, what happens if I don't know either one of those? You don't. How do you make decisions like this? I ask that you table this until another occasion and put a moratorium on all additional spending until you have the due diligence afforded by a 5-year projected forecast. It only makes sense to a lot of people, and I don't understand why we can continue to make approvals for monies when we don't truly understand the crisis that we're in. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the public? Sir. Good evening.
How you doing?
State your name for the record, please.
Tom Hobson. I came tonight, I tend to agree with what these other two gentlemen, Mr. Bongiovanni.
Just speak into the mic, sir. The acoustics is not so good in here.
What the other two, Mr. Cody and Mr. Bongiovanni, have said about not knowing. And I think that is part of why I'm here. I know this isn't about the assessments, but my assessment went up 45%. It's my belief that the city hasn't taxed enough. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's my belief because our expenditures are very high, and my taxes are lower than they've ever been on any home I've owned. Now, a lot of people don't want to pay more taxes. They don't want to hear that. But it's my belief in the past 20 years we haven't been paying enough, which has brought us to where we are today.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from members of the public? Yes.
Just want to respond to that.
Your name, please.
My name is Stacia Heiler. Come on over to Ward 9, to our neighborhood, and we can tell you how much we paid in taxes living in the city of Warwick since 2006. Okay? 1/3, for those maybe that aren't well educated on how it works, 1/3 of the city of Warwick carries the tax burden for everybody else.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Stacia.
So, yeah, no, I just want to piggyback.
No personal attacks on anyone.
It's not a personal
He's entitled
attack.
to his opinion as you're entitled to yours.
I did not personally attack anybody. I responded to his comments, okay,
He's
about how he
entitled
said
to his
that.
opinion
So am
without
I.
someone
And
taking
so am
him
I.
out. And so are you.
And so am I.
You are allowed to do so.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous how some people think. So, also, as far as maybe I can...
Excuse me, do you have anything to say about this item?
I think you should have a 5-year forecast.
This item.
Okay, on any single item that you have before you
Okay.
from now until the budget is passed, if you don't have a 5-year forecast in front of you on how much anything is going to cost, how much is coming into the city, the cost of health care, what's it going to mean for the taxpayers, you shouldn't be voting on anything right now. You shouldn't even have any bids before you.
Okay, so you just issued a blanket comment on all the bids, correct?
On this bid.
Thank you. You just said on all the bids.
No, I corrected myself, it's
Okay.
on this bid.
All right, great.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Hearing none, I need a motion.
I move for favorable action. Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes. Okay, thank you, Councilman. Just want to point out, we have, for the benefit of my colleagues here present on the council, we have run all the numbers as far as the individual items go, and the monies are in the account. Moving on, fireworks. Item number, Gatsby Day fireworks. There's no number here.
26.
It is 2019-259, and that is found on page 26.
Thank you, Finance Chair.
Thank
Committee
you.
members, my name is Karen Jedson. I'm the Director of the Department of Tourism, Culture, and Development. I'm here before you this evening to bring to you the results of the bid process regarding fireworks for the 2019 season. Should the council choose to continue the tradition of offering fireworks this season, I offer you the following information. The department received one bid in the amount of $7,750 from Pyrotechnical Fireworks for bid number 2019/259 Gaspee Days Fireworks. The event date is slated for June 1st with a rain date of June 2nd. Pyrotechnical Fireworks was the sole and lowest responsible bidder.
Karen, we had a lot of conversation on this last year about the fireworks, about the size, the amounts, inventory, who's checking it coming off the trucks, who is making sure that everything was dispensed, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to belabor these items to regurgitate the same questions. I'm just going to ask you one question. Are you following the same protocol of the responsible activity regarding these fireworks, from the inventory control to the size of the tubes, whether it be 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, who's doing what, and someone is there at the end taking inventory to make sure what we paid for ended up in the sky and not in someone's truck?
Yes,
Okay.
we are, and I can just elaborate on that a little bit. The fire department
Just speak into the mic, please.
Yes, the fire department does do a report pre- and post-event, and both were checked, and everything was accounted for.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, we ask that you table this cost to the Warwick taxpayer. We don't understand how you can approve any sort of expenditures without a full understanding of the impact on our community. Due diligence is not being made at this point, and we ask that you commit to that due diligence. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? Sir.
I tend to agree with what the last gentleman said, because the expenditures may and taxes may not be known. Maybe my previous comments were misconstrued. I think that because we haven't had an even spread of the tax burden, that over the past 20 years we haven't been able to keep up. So we're spending more money, but we're not taking in more money equally. That's my only concern. So if we're spending more money, we need to know how much we're taxing, and we need to spread the tax burden out equally among the citizens, whether you make X amount or X amount. Fairness, that's all I'm asking for. So I think that they have a good point when they say let's not approve more expenditures until we know what the revenue is and have a plan. I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none?
Yeah, we got one.
Sorry? Please.
Hi, Cindy Farah. You know, this kind of reminds me of when I get my flyers in the paper on Sunday, and there's all things in there I want to buy, but I know I don't have the money, so I rip up the flyer. We can't afford anything. We can't afford to spend more money. This is crazy. It's like 5-year-olds spending money they don't have. We don't have the money. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is crazy. Have you not read the articles written? Have you not attended the meetings that I've been at? We don't have the money. And the money that we do have, we spend recklessly. Recklessly. And you can ask Ed, because I mail him stuff all the time of money being wasted. We need to clean house and get this place in order before we start approving more stuff. Maybe we don't have fireworks. Didn't they just cancel the air show or something because they couldn't afford it? Maybe we need to start doing that. This is crazy. If I ran my house the way we ran this city, I'd be in bankruptcy court, which is where we're going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen, could you come to the mic, please? Where is the revenue coming from to pay for these fireworks? Is it taxpayer dollars or is it coming from elsewhere?
The funding used for the fireworks bids comes solely from visitor tax, imposed on our tourists and collected by our hoteliers, used solely for destination promotion per General Law 4263-1. In
Thank
turn,
you.
we're
Again, I will remind everyone, the acoustics in this chamber, while it's a beautiful chamber, the acoustics are awful. So I have to absolutely insist that any conversations that take place outside, not in the council chamber, because it's just totally disruptive. Thank you. I appreciate your cooperation on that. Thank you for the information, Karen. Any other questions? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action. Seconded.
We have a motion for favor. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2020-34, found on page 29. Karen?
Yes, for the Independence Day fireworks slated for July 3rd, bid number 2020-006, we did not receive any bids. We, in turn, went out to bid for a second time and also did not receive any bids for July 3rd on the requested date. We did, however, receive 2 bids for the date of July 7th, with the rain date of July 12th. In accordance with bid number 2020-034, we would ask the council to consider if they wish to pursue Independence Day fireworks for July 7th. The department would suggest using the lowest responsible bidder, Atlas Pyrovision Entertainment, for $13,000.
Any questions from members of the committee?
I do, Mr. Chairman. If I can just, Mr. Chairman, if that's
Sure,
all right.
please.
Thank you. Karen, again, this revenue is from the tax collected from the hotels and the visitors?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public?
Mr. Chairman, regardless of the funding...
State your name for the record again, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Jay Bongiovanni. I represent the Warwick Financial Crisis Committee. Regardless of the funding methods, a penny saved can go elsewhere, can it not?
No. Those dollars, Karen, explain to where those...
Can be put to better use? So they're for fireworks, and that's it? It's labeled fireworks.
Excuse me,
when you collect-
excuse me. We're going to maintain decorum in this chamber, okay? Sir, you can ask her a question through me. Please speak into the mic. I don't mean to be disrespectful. It's just very difficult when we have conversations going all over the place. And if
I understand.
If someone turns...
You don't have to say anymore, I understand.
But maybe others don't. And if you turn to talk to someone behind you, we may not hear it, okay? Thank you.
And I thought you asked her a question and I should interact with her. I apologize.
Okay, no problem. Karen, can this money be used for fixing potholes or buying fire trucks or police cars?
No, sir.
Okay.
It is for tourism promotion, so to generate more business visitation and
Correct.
hotel. Yes.
For tourism promotion.
Correct.
For economic stimulation, to encourage folks to come to the city.
Great
People
answer.
who come to the city and watch fireworks spend money at Oakland Beach. They spend money at City Park. They spend money wherever they are through the city, right? Thank you.
That's right.
Sir.
Mr. Chairman, we're
Yes.
looking for your leadership. We do not want to fund issues that are going to be catching us in the forefront behind the eyes. Please, we're looking for your leadership. We're looking for the committee's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sure.
Councilman Howell made a point about the funding source, and I think, too bad it didn't come out prior, but maybe going
Actually, Roy, to interrupt you, I asked the question before on the last fireworks bid.
Well, the question is, going forward, could we maybe ask whoever comes up to this mic the funding source for any item that they may be asking money for? Because it was really put out there by Councilman Howe, this funding source was outside of the scope, came from tourism dollars. Maybe it might be good if the source, funding source, taxpayer dollars. Let's hear something like that, and maybe it can drive a point across to where this money's coming from.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Cindy Farah. So, if I understand this correctly, you're saying that the money that's generated from the Tourism Council is the money that we're using for fireworks. So then I'd like to know why we don't take the money from the Tourism Council and fund regulating Airbnbs like I was forced to, because that could generate more money. So why don't we take the money and instead of having fireworks, why don't we send some letters to all these illegal Airbnbs and make some money off them and quit having me being the only person that spent $2,000 4 years ago, the only person held to a standard. Why don't we do that? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none. Sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the monies collected with the tourism industry, can that be reallocated into our budget?
I don't believe so. No.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Counselor?
State Law 4263.1-4 governs the use of funds for this particular account, and it's itemized there.
Thank you. Need a motion?
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 2020-007.
For National Night Out, dated...
I'm sorry, Karen, that's found on page 33.
Oh, sorry. For National Night Out, the date of August 6th, which is the first Tuesday in August, bid number 2020-007. The department received one bid in the amount of $7,999 for pyrotechnics fireworks.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
2020-008, City of Warwick Public School Medical, Pharmacy, and Dental Insurance Benefits. You've heard my comments. Counselor?
There was prior commentary and communication regarding the State Open Meetings Act and the components required under it. Under 42-46-6 sub D, reading from the end of the paragraph, nothing contained in this chapter requires any public body to hold an open forum session to entertain or respond to any topic, nor does it prohibit any public body from listening to comment at any time at such an open forum session. So the indication that we're required to have a public forum at this time is inaccurate.
Okay. So, we have no one here to answer any questions. We don't have answers, or I don't have, I'm not going to speak for my colleagues, an answer to questions I have asked. So consequently, we are going to make a motion to hold. We need a motion. And we'll hold that until May 20th. May 20th. Okay, so I tell you what. So let's get the public comment. You want to make some comments? We're not going to answer any questions because we don't have probably the answers, and certainly the people that are involved in the bid would need to address those questions. I'm going to ask you to limit your questions because come again May 20th, you're going to be able to ask all the questions you want to the people that will be here in attendance. So let's just work together on this. Otherwise, we can just stay here till midnight. But let's just work together on it. Come on up. And if this just goes on and on and on with the same information, then I'm going to have to secure it. But please, just go ahead.
Thank you, Councilman Lattisaw. I think it's important that as the Finance Committee, it's still important for you to hear from the public, from the taxpayers, what we ask of you before even thinking of looking at a bid like this bid 2020-008, what you should know. And so I won't even ask the questions. I'll just read off what I had prepared as statements.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you. What you should know is what is the current OPEB unfunded liability? What effect...
Excuse me, Stacia, 1
Yes.
minute. So, when you're done asking your questions, and I don't mean
I'm not even asking questions, I'm just...
Or your comments?
I'm just commenting.
Could you just email those to me?
I'd be more than happy to.
Your
I'll send it
concerns.
to the entire city council.
Thank you. Okay.
What is the current OPEB unfunded liability? What effect is this healthcare cost increase going to have on the unfunded OPEB liability? How many retired city employees are there today? You should all know that number. Does this $1.1 million increase in healthcare include the city retirees? I know the answer. I know you all know the answer. You should know the answer. How much do retired city employees contribute to their healthcare costs? I know the answer to this. I hope you do. The city has a max tax increase. What percent of our city's maximum tax increase does this 1.1 million healthcare increase translate into? Is this 1.1 million increase in healthcare costs before or after the percent that's paid by active city employees? What is the percent the active city employee pays towards their healthcare broken down by municipal, police, and fire? This is something that the entire city council should know. I know the answer. I hope you know the answer. At the very least, all three city bargaining units aren't paying the same towards their healthcare costs. Why? If municipal was paying 20%, like police and fire, how much would this save the Warwick taxpayers? What does a single plan and a family plan cost? What is the annual premium amount paid by city employees for individual and family plans? What is the copay amount paid for city employees for doctor visits, which include primary care and specialist visits? What is the copay amount that city employees pay for every emergency room visit and hospital room stay per day? Does the 1.1 million increase in health care include a prescription drug cap, which is currently $300 for an individual plan and $600 for a family plan? So just for everybody that doesn't understand this, right now, for every city employee, they have a cap on how much they pay for their prescription drugs, $300 for individual and $600 for family. Once they go over that max cap, the taxpayers pay for it. Last year, the city budgeted $4.2 million for prescription drugs. How much will prescription drugs cost the Warwick taxpayers this year? Has the city administration provided the city council with projected healthcare cost increases over the next 5 years? If not, why not? And how are you supposed to determine the impact of these healthcare cost increases if you have no idea what they are and how they're going to affect the Warwick taxpayers, especially over the next 5 years? Does the new fire contract address any of these issues associated with increasing healthcare costs? If the new Warwick fire contract doesn't address any of these increasing healthcare costs, you need to table it, go back to the drawing board, and start all over again until you do. Will you demand from the administration a 5-year forecast of expenses, including healthcare, while sending the current proposed Warwick fire contract back to the drawing board? So I think you have enough on your plate that's destroying the city of Warwick. It's on the city side of business. Will a charter review save taxpayers money? It doesn't. You know it has to be done. Stop avoiding the issue. If you don't address these massive escalating costs that are leading the city towards bankruptcy, if we're not already there, the bottom line is you are knowingly and intentionally sabotaging the city of Warwick. The charter review is a farce. It's a diversion away from the real problems in Warwick, which are pensions and health care. The charter review will do nothing to address this issue. And lastly, the school department, yes, they have their problems, but the major problem is on the city side of business. I'm done.
Stick your comments to 2020.
That's what it has. I'm done. I have one more sentence. So the major problem is on the city side of business. So please stop the diversion tactics and please man up to the changes that are needed to fix this city. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
Do you have a 5-year forecast?
I said earlier, we are not going to take any questions on this item.
I'm asking only because if you do not have a 5-year forecast by May 20th, how are you going to be able to entertain the health care issues?
Are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Would you answer that, please? Can you answer that?
The 5-year forecast, I do not have.
Will you have it by May 20th?
We'll see.
Then I ask you, please table the health care issue until the committee can offer due diligence and analysis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Chairman?
Sir.
Dan Pisaturo from Ward 1. I came from a school department of many years, and at the end of each year, we used to have an audit to find out a status. Do you people usually have an auditor go through the status of Warwick and what will happen a year from now, or if you're over your heads, or if you're even Steven? If not, maybe you should look at whatever auditor you have, or have an audit every year, so that you know your status and all these questions these people are asking, you'd be able to answer, whether we're over our head, when we're in trouble, or what. And I know we're in trouble, so my question to you is, do we have an audit every year? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none. Need a motion to hold PCR, this will now be PCR 7219, hold until May 20th.
Motion to hold to May 20th.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2020-010. Yes, it was PCR 7219. (2020-010) found on page 42.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening.
Go ahead, state your name for the record, please.
Kyla Jones, tax collector. Tonight I'm presenting to
Kyla,
you.
speak into the mic and louder, please.
Tonight I'm presenting to you bid 2020-10 collection services for taxes and rescue fees. The city's previous contract was awarded to Rossi Law under bid number 2016-4. This was a 6/12 contract extension with terms of July 1st of 17 to June 30th of 19. That original bid had four vendors submitting, one being disqualified for not meeting the specs. Bid 2020-10 was opened on March 27th and 19 with 5 vendors submitting their bids. The vendors were Municipal Collection Agency, Law Office of Janet Goldman, Inc., Rossi Law Office, Quality Asset Recovery, and LifeQuest Services. Municipal Collection Agency is the recommended vendor as the lowest qualified bidder for bid number 2020-10. They bid 12% for non-litigation and 25% for litigated cases. MCA has been in business since 1992 and are currently the only Rhode Island-based vendor on the State of Rhode Island's master price agreement. Their bid came in the same, actually, as it would have under the MPA. Municipal Collection Agency has experience with rescue billing and are currently working with Comstar, which, as you may know, Comstar is currently under contract with the City of Warwick for the rescue billing. In this bid, any legal fees that are incurred will be charged directly to the delinquent taxpayer by the awarded vendor and will not be charged to the City of Warwick. There's 2 funds that will correlate this billing. The tax collectors is $22,360 and rescue services is $304,404.
So Kyla, this is a percentage-based expense.
Yes,
Meaning that if they don't collect anything, they don't get paid anything.
that's correct.
So the taxpayer does not incur any exposure unless the tax collection agency, be this one recommended from you folks, municipal, collects past due tax and water bills and sewer bills?
Just motor vehicle and personal property taxes.
Okay. So we're paying from varying percentages a fee to a tax collector, in essence, is what it is.
Right, so the delinquent taxpayers say they're a year past due, usually it's 2 years past due. Their interest percent through the city would be 24% interest, whereas we'd only be paying 12% of what's collected. So the city's still continuing to collect their principal and some of the interest.
And how much did we collect this previous year?
For the full FY18 or for FY19 to date?
Let's go to date.
To date, $265,000 was collected through Rossi Law.
Okay. And how about in 2018?
$660,000.
How much?
$660,000.
So 2018, it was 660,000?
Yes.
And 2019 to date is how much?
$265,000.
And the collection agency that's handling that only gets paid their percentage of that monies.
That's correct.
And had we not engaged their services, we probably would not have collected any of it.
Most likely not.
If it had to be turned over, they weren't paying, right?
Yes. People are more apt to pay an attorney's office when they send them a letter rather than when the tax collector sends them a letter.
And when we implemented several years ago the new procedure regarding past due water sewer bills, as an example, I believe the number within a period of several years that we collected was in excess of $4 million, correct?
That's correct.
So, as you can see, we are doing our due diligence. Any questions from members of the committee? Sir?
Yep. Just once again, this is we're contracting service. They go out. What they make is what they can collect. So it's beneficial for them to go after and collect more, and it's beneficial for the city to bring it back in.
Yes.
Brian, did you want to comment?
I did.
Okay.
Sorry
State your
about
name,
that.
please.
What the? Brian Sylvia, Finance Director for the City of Warwick. I just wanted to clarify on rescue billing, on the rescue collections piece, which is on the account that was listed was 3040404 for rescue services. This is, again, this is a new practice. This is a new initiative started by the administration, the mayor, to go after and be aggressive with this receivable that's on the books. So this is a new service. We had to set up a new account. That's not going to be the account. I wanted that noted. The actual account's going to be 3020408.
302-048?
0408.
0408.
Correct.
And that's where the revenues that are collected, that's the account they're going to?
That's going to be the cost. So it's the same function as Kyle was detailing. The revenue come in, and the percentage, the cost of the collection, that 12%, will be paid out of that account.
I see, okay. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions, comments from members of the public? Brian, did you have something else?
I'm sorry, one other thing too. We would like to request...
Mike, into the mic, Brian.
Sorry, we would like to also request an amendment changing the term to 1 year to coincide with the rescue billing contract that was done to ComStar. This being a new program, and just to make sure everything is up on the up and up with it, we'd like to have it correspond with that and do a 1 year term.
And this is following in the path that you established a little earlier with these 1 year bids and...
That's correct.
...completing at the same time. Okay.
Thank you.
That'll be PCR 7319. So 2020-010 now becomes PCR 7319. Sir?
Will the prices be uniform?
Will what?
Are we cutting in half because it's a 2 year term?
Yes, we are planning
So
on
it's a 1 year, so we're cutting
directly in half.
so we got to
Yes, sir.
change the number on that.
Thank you.
So the number's going to change 250,000 and 75,000. Correct? Okay. Okay. Please.
Roy Dempsey, Ward 1.
Yes.
Just a question regarding the fees that these collection agencies are getting. Do they get, if the person owes $1,000, and if there's fees on top of that, I don't know, penalties that the city may put on so it's up to $1,500, do they go after if they go after the $1,500, do they get the percentage of the 15, or do they get just a percentage of the 1,000, which was originally billed?
Brian, Kyla, whoever wants to reply.
They get a percentage of exactly
Into
what
the
they
mic, Kyla,
collect.
we can't hear you.
They get the percentage of exactly what they collect. So they may owe $1,500, but if they only collect $500, they only get 12% of that $500. It's whatever they actually collect.
But I think his question was if there was other penalties and assessments, and they collect that, so instead of $1,500, it'd be $1,600, do they get the 12% on the $1,600?
Yes, if they collected the $1,600, they get 12% of $1,600.
And the legal fees for these charges, that goes to the individual who owed the money, correct?
Yes, so if the case goes to litigation, instead of 12%, they would get 25% of the interest. But court costs would go to the delinquent taxpayer billed right from the collection agency. That doesn't pass through the city at all.
Okay.
You were bringing up the water bills before, and I know you did a lot of work on it because I happened to be in the council chambers at that point about collections and getting up to speed with it. But there's a note there regarding rescue runs, and I believe you had the fire department get up here at one point, and they had how to work going out to collections. And they seem to have a pretty good process in place in order to get these rescue runs billings. I'm not sure how much of this, what was it, 60,000 now? Or how much of that is due to rescue runs? Or money collected for people aren't paying for rescue runs or insurances that aren't paying?
The city has budgeted, the last few years and received, that's been both the budget and actual revenue received, roughly $2.9 million for revenue for rescue billing. And this is in addition to this is our receivable on the books, items that have been billed and not collected. Our receivable on the books right now is a little north of $500,000. That's what will be. Yes.
And I'd also like to point out that recently the city council passed an ordinance that increased our rescue service fees significantly. So once again, whether it's always everyone's knowledge, we are looking at all the ways that we can generate additional revenue. Now, this revenue stream that we are going to create by increasing these rescue fees doesn't cost the taxpayers or the residents of the city of Warwick anything. Nothing. And Brian, would it be fair to say that could generate, well, you give me the number. What's the anticipated number that you're anticipating from the increase in fees?
Anticipated, I'm going to knock it down a little bit because I got a number from ComStar, and we'll go with $200,000, $300,000 in that range.
And that's a very.
I'll say that's still a little conservative even on that. So I'm like.
And that doesn't cost the taxpayers anything.
Correct. Absolutely.
That's something that's billed to the folks who call or get the rescue service outside the city and the insurance companies. So once again, we are certainly doing everything we can to generate additional revenues.
Just,
Sir.
Councilman, it surprises me that we get a receivable of $500,000 out there for rescue runs that have not been paid over a period of time. Seems like a lot of money. I don't know how to recoup. Apparently, it's hard to recoup this money, but maybe there's indigent fund within the state budget that these monies can be recouped from or looked at. But thank you.
Well, that's why we're engaging in these collection agencies to take an aggressive approach to collecting this. All right, so we have PCR 7319. We have an amendment. I need a motion on the amendment. Sorry.
On the amendment on the term, I'm noticing that on the resolution, there's a typographical error. So when we amend it to the 1 year, as you can see on the resolution, it says 7/1/10. It should be 7/1/19, and it'll now be 7/1/19 to 6/30/20.
Thank you for that. Okay, I need a motion on the amendment.
I make a motion for favorable action to amend to a 1-year period, 7/1/19 to 6/30/20, and to, for the numbers would be for 22,360, 250,000, and for we got the new number on that. That you just told me.
3020408.
08 to $75,000.
Okay. Councilman?
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second on the amendment. All in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Move favorable as amended.
Favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion favorable, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 2013-13, Zamboni Blades, found on page 47.
Christy Moretti, Department of Public Works. Department's requesting to award the bid for Zamboni blade sharpening to AccuGrind of New England for a 2-year period expiring June 30th, 2021 in the amount of $7,000.
And Christy, you have in here, most vendors contacted do not offer the service for sharpening Zamboni blades. Who were the vendors that you called?
So I contacted some of the vendors on the list, and I actually did a Google search as well. A lot of places, you know, when it comes to blade sharpening, it's lawnmower blades, that type of thing. Because these blades are 77 inches long, they're made of steel. There's a lot of companies that can't accommodate that. I did find one actually in Pawtucket that I contacted through the Google search that does sharpen Zamboni blades. So I did discuss with him and that we could add him to the vendor list for the next time it goes out to bid and ensure that he receives one. So I do have his contact information.
So, again, who were the vendors that you contacted?
So I contacted LeMay Sharpening, I contacted D&D Sharpening, J.D. LaCourse and Son was another one. AccuGrind, obviously, it was the bidder. Rhode Island Harvesting. There's a couple that I did not end up reaching. Rhode Island Harvesting and Thurston Manufacturing, I didn't get a response from. So I did contact, like I said, through the Google search, and then the ones that I mentioned.
And Christy, what happens if we don't have these blades sharpened?
If they're not sharpened, then when the Zamboni goes out to basically clean the ice, we won't be able to do that. It actually, what it does is it shaves a very thin layer off and resurfaces the ice for whatever group.
So you won't be able to prepare the ice?
Correct.
Period. And if you can't prepare the ice, then you can't rent the arena?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
And if we can't rent the arena, we can't generate any revenue, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Most buildings do generate quite a bit of revenue.
So sometimes you got to spend money to make money. And in this case, if we don't sharpen these blades when it's necessary, we don't make ice.
Correct.
And if we don't make ice, we don't make money. Correct?
Correct.
Any questions from members of the committee? Sir?
Mr. Chairman, Chrissy, I have a question. You said that you Googled, which is wonderful, thank you. Did you go to the Small Business Administration, because there are two great resources, Small Business Administration, and as Councilman McAllister mentioned, The Secretary of State's website that shows all the businesses that have to register within the state.
I honestly, no, I did not use those two sources. Google search, because I can be specific about what I'm looking for. Zamboni blade sharpening, it does pick up sharpening, obviously, it's just a general term, but Zamboni blades are pretty specific, so it gave me a little bit more of a,
It was able to
What I
hone
was
it down
looking
for you.
for, yeah.
Okay. I saw you had a comment?
Just to let you know, the procedures in purchasing on every bid that we send out, once we get it all completed, we do advertise it on our website, we advertise it on Newport's website, and we do contact both of the small business and what was the other one that you mentioned?
Secretary of State. Yep.
All four of those are done on every bid that we send out in purchasing.
Okay, thank you. Could you identify yourself?
Pat Peshka, Purchasing Agent, City Ward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman McAllister, do you have any? Nope. No. Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item 2020-016, food service products, found on page 50.
Good evening. Meg Underwood, Director of Senior Services. We had 2 bids for the food service products at the Pilgrim Senior Center. This is a 6-month bid, July 1 through December 30, 2019. And I am recommending the bid be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, which is Thompson Food Service out of East Providence.
What was the amount that you had in this budget line last year?
It was the same amount last year.
Same amount?
This is a self-supporting service, Councilman. This is not taxpayer money. This is food that is, prepared for or purchased for the coffee shop and sold, so it's self-supporting. It's not taxpayer dollars.
And when you, when you go out for bid for this, do you send these bid requests to any of the big boxes, like Walmart or BJ's or any of those places?
I have never seen them advertised as, I've certainly done the same thing as everyone else. I've done Google searches for that kind of a thing, but to my knowledge, the Walmarts of the world don't necessarily have all the products that we offer in the quantity we offer. I'm unsure of that, I guess.
So we haven't?
We have not, no.
And you have 20 vendors on this list. As you know, I know you're not before this committee often, but particularly over the last 2.5 years, the Finance Committee and the City Council has been working to change a culture that had been going on for a very long time. And that was not contacting bidders after the bid opening was done and asking them why they hadn't bid, finding out the reasons why the competitive process had diminished, and it's the same folks over and over getting the bids, to the point where we had sent bids back for that very reason, where the answer was no, we didn't contact anyone. And that culture certainly has changed, and we're hearing from department heads all the time that they are doing that and are reaching out, trying to increase and encourage people to bid on our stuff. And as a result of that, we have been getting more bidders and more of competitive biddings. So did you reach out to any of those other vendors?
I reached out to several vendors before the bids, before the bid was even posted, to let them know. I spoke with them ahead of time to see if there would be interest. Yes, with several of the different vendors. Unfortunately, only 2 responded.
After the bid was done and opened and everything
After the bid was done, no, I did not reach out to them.
Well, I would suggest that. I know $4,500, to some folks it's a very large amount of money, and to some folks perhaps not so much. Every dollar certainly is important. So I would just encourage you to, either you or your staff, to reach out to the vendors. I mean, there's people in this business that I think would be happy to have a $4,500 contract. Any comments from members of the committee? Any comments from members of the council?
One quick question, Chairman. So, did you total up the costs for each vendor? Because I see the individual costs.
Yes, I did.
What was
sir.
the difference between the two?
Just a little over $200 a year, or for the 6-month period, yes.
And which, well, I assume it was in favor of Thompson Food
was
Service?
the less expensive of the two. Yes, I did.
Meg,
extend
speak
it
into
out.
the mic, please. 'cause
Oh,
I
I'm
can't
sorry. I did extend it out just to get a comparison because they looked fairly equal on a one-to-one basis, but when you extrapolate it out, there was a little bit of a difference, so.
That's all, Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. 2020-22, paper products, found on page 56.
Chairman, we received 3 bids for the paper products for the Pilgrim Senior Center. After comparing the 3 bids, I am recommending that the bid in the amount of $2,900 be awarded to the lowest bidder, which was Glove Cleaners and Safety Products out of Plainville, Mass. It's a 1-year bid, July 1 through June 30, 2020.
Meg, I'm looking through the individual items here. What's the most popular plate that you use?
I'm sorry, the most popular?
Plate, paper plate.
I would guess it's an 8-inch dinner plate.
Okay. I'm just asking because I'm seeing where Glove Cleaners on the item number 14, a 9-inch ultra paper plate, the low bid is $30.53, and Glove Cleaners on that one item, while they are lower on pretty much
Right.
everything else, they're significantly higher on that item.
I see that too, and again, I extended this out for a year with using the number that we usually purchase, and even though that one was quite a bit higher, overall, Glove Cleaners was the least expensive when you extend it out for a year's time.
Okay, any questions from, did you call any of these vendors on this item?
I beg your pardon?
Did you call any of the vendors that did not bid to ask them why they did not bid on this item?
Again, I did not, sir.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
2020-020, thank you, Meg. 2020-025 sand, grit, gravel, found on page 61.
Department of Public Works is requesting to award the sand, grit, gravel, loam, and stone bid to Richmond Sand and Stone and PJ Keating Company. We did receive 5 bids. These 2 vendors are the lowest bidders. We are requesting an amount of $90,000 for a 1-year period. That includes the Highway Division, Field Maintenance Division, and the Water Department.
And on what basis have you determined the number of $90,000?
Well, we've split it up, $50,000 for highway, $15,000 for field maintenance, and $25,000 for the water department. Highway does spend quite a bit of money, depending on the projects and repairs that are necessary for, roadways or any project really that would maybe require a gravel base or some mason sand, or we do purchase by the ton. Field maintenance will use this bid for the purchase of loom for outdoor areas. Water department, I can't specifically speak to what they use it for, but they do use it, like if they have a water main break, they'll put gravel in or whatever their needs are.
And why are you requesting 2 vendors? Matt, would you care to answer that question? State your name for the record, please.
Matthew Salitro, Department of Public Works Director for the City of Warwick. Your question was, why are we requesting 2 vendors? So that we always have an alternate source for sand, grit, and gravel. So the Water Department, if we run low on stock and one vendor has not made processed gravel, we need to have that on hand in case they have a blowout with a water main. If they do have a blowout with a water main, it disrupts the whole road and needs to be put back so that the residents of Warwick can drive back over it.
Matt,
it's
how
just
many
safety.
instances have you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, I thought you were
Okay.
done. How many instances have you had recently in the past couple of months where you've had some water mains break, some sewer lines break, and have had a need for these different items? How many times in the past few months?
Probably 12 to 15 times we've lost water main. As you know, Sandy Lane, we lost that, the sewer line. So I'd say it's a regular occurrence based on history.
Okay, and as you know, this committee and this council has been working diligently with the department heads to change that culture of awarding 6, 7 vendors. What we have learned in our own research, as well as the research that the department heads such as yourself have undertaken, is that was one of the reasons why vendors weren't bidding on some of our stuff, because they might be the low bid on a no-profit item, and that's what they got awarded. They said, why waste our time? So again, because of the efforts of this committee and this council and the department heads, that culture has changed, and we are no longer awarding 6 bids. And we are getting more vendors to bid because they're encouraged that they have a better possibility of winning the bids. Having said that, I'm speaking for myself with respect to my colleagues on the committee. I cannot support P.J. Keating as that second contractor or vendor because other than the first 2 items in item 1, there's 1, 2, 3 items that they didn't bid at all. The last 6 items, they're higher than Rawson on, and I don't see any advantage to the taxpayers to use P.J. Keating as your alternate source. My recommendation is going to be to go to Rawson because they are most in line with your first suggestion. Any problem with that?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Councilman?
So, Mr. Chairman, you were looking at taking out which group?
Keating, P.J. Keating.
Okay, and are you adding a second
in
one?
Rawson. They will be the second.
Rawson.
So the low bidder was Richmond.
Yep, we're keeping Richmond.
Richmond's staying, and we are going to amend this to eliminate Keating and move it to Rawson.
Great. I want to thank the chairman for his due diligence on this, as, you know, going through all the bids to see all the things. And I also want to thank the director because, as he pointed out, we need a lot of this stuff, and it's usually in an emergency situation. So that's why I would support having multiple bidders on this, because the last thing we want is if something happens and, you know, Richmond Sand doesn't have what we need, or at least we have a backup, another one to go through. So I think that we're doing that. And my other question is, in there is funds for this in the budget line, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the members of the committee? Any questions? Councilman Crowley.
Okay. This is more of an informative question. Number 6, it says common borrow. I have no idea what that means.
You'd like a description of common borrow? So common borrow is when you have a huge sand pile and whatever rolls down, it is not processed. It's just basically a fill material. It used to fill large voids as opposed to a processed gravel, which is actually processed, goes through a fine sieve screen, and is segregated as such by the Rhode Island DOT standards. So it's
Right,
basically a fill material that still meets certain standards and criteria, but it's what rolls down the pile. That's what they call it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the council? Any questions, comments from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion. To amend.
Motion to amend, I need a PCR.
PCR 7419.
And I would like to take out PJ Keating and add Rosso Monteros.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second to amend what has now become PCR 7419, remove KJ Keating, add Rawson. Need a motion on, I'm sorry, all in favor on the
Aye.
amendment?
Aye.
I move favorable action as amended.
Seconded.
We have a motion as amended, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. 2019-306, repair RS 43.
Matthew Salitro, DPW Director for the City of Warwick. We're recommending 56.6 bid on 2019-306 repair to RS 43 in the amount of $15,000. This will be a one-time purchase.
That's found on page 65, by the way, I'm sorry. So, Matt, I need you to speak to this in more detail, because I understand the need for this vehicle. If we don't make these repairs, and if we don't spend some money on this vehicle, you have another vehicle that's down. And if you have it down, we're not going to be able to perform the services that the citizens and taxpayers of the city have come to appreciate and expect. I asked you questions on some of these costs on these pots.
Correct.
And also why this vehicle needs to go to Mack Trucking for this repair. So if you could just share that with us, please.
So just some brief history on this vehicle. To purchase a new vehicle of this type would be $305,000. If it was used for 1 year in service, you could probably get it for around $265,000. The same model, same vintage, same running hours and mileage right now would be upwards of $100,000 if you could find them, if someone was going to let them go. If you were to purchase a used one. So this particular vehicle has an MP7 engine, which is one of the best motors they make, but as such requires specific parts. If you go to the parts list that was provided in your packet, you'll see the list, the net, and the total of all the parts. I did some research looking into the fact that one screw, one bolt was listed out at $14, and we could buy it for $10. So you'll see the difference in the discount. So my question to my automotive chief was, why am I paying $10 for a screw? And he said, it's not just a screw, it's a specially machined head bolt metric of certain steel and tensile. So that's the reason for, you just can't go to Salks and get it, or you can't go to Warwick Industrial Fasteners. The reason why we're going to Mack is it's pretty labor intensive. They have 56 hours slated to do this. You literally have to take the front cab portion off, remove the motor, fix the rear main seal leak, and go from there. It's highly specialized. We want to make sure that it's done right. Something that we couldn't do in-house. We like the fact that Mack's there, they'll warranty it. Obviously, Mack's well-known. We have a lot of Mack's in our fleet. That's why we chose this particular vendor. The turnaround time will be 7 to 10 working days, which in my opinion is great. It doesn't, once we get this back on the road, it's going to relieve the stress on the other vehicles. That's the other point, that are working overtime and the manpower to work overtime to get the services done for the constituents of the city.
So the bottom line is, what you're asking us to do is approve an amount up to, or not to exceed, $15,000 to make repairs on this vehicle that, in its current state, or in its operating state, is worth about $100,000 right now.
Correct.
Okay. And this will enable you to continue using this vehicle to provide the services that our citizens have come to expect, and rightfully so. What would be your crystal ball life expectancy of this vehicle?
Well, I mean, this vehicle's it's in pretty decent shape. It just had this one major malfunction. It's not only the life expectancy of this vehicle, but when we put this back in service, we can do service on our other vehicles, remove one from the road. So it's all about preventative maintenance at this stage of the game. We don't have an exorbitant amount of brand-new trucks and equipment, so anything that we can PM is going to prolong the life of the equipment that we have. So my crystal ball, if we get another 3 or 4 years out of it, and then we get hit with another $15,000 to $18,000 bill, then we can assess at that time.
Matt, I need to speak about what you, as a director of DPW, has been doing. We have a lot of new folks in the audience tonight, and I know there's the questions about how do we do it, why do we do it, et cetera. So, largely, with the efforts of this city council, particularly going back to when now Mayor Solomon was Councilman Solomon, we have put a lot of emphasis on making do with what you have, making a longer shelf life of what you have. And I think you have done a particularly good job because, again, you come before this committee probably the 4th or 5th time in the last year. You haven't asked us to go out and give you $305,000 for a new truck. You haven't asked us to buy a $100,000 truck in this case. You've come to us with machines that I don't even remember how many hundreds of thousands of hours that it had on it to be able to make use of it elsewhere. So what you are doing and have been doing for a long while now is exactly what this Finance Committee has asked you to do, and asked all the department heads to do, is we expect you to do a little more with a little less. It may not always be out there on the face value of it, but it is happening. And you've been doing particularly due diligence on coming up with these vehicles, and the fire department is going to be coming to us shortly with another very, very good example of doing a better job with what we have to work with. But yet, we got a city to run. We have to run a city. We're not going to shut down the city. Services are not going to stop. The fire department's got to put out fires. The police department is going to chase the bad guys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we do expect all the department heads to do a little more with a little less. Any questions from members of the committee? Councilman.
Director, and what is this truck used for?
It's a sanitation truck.
Exactly. So this is a sanitation truck, so getting this fixed up and getting back on the roads so our trash gets picked up on time, and it also gives you a chance, as you mentioned, to take another one off, do some preventative maintenance, so we're rotating them all out so they're not all just pushing 24/7. So again, this is an investment into a very valuable piece of equipment that we have here in the city, on a very expensive piece of equipment that we see every day. Every day you see the garbage trucks out there, and no one wants to see it leaking and going down the street and everything like that, and this is a very important thing to get on the road. So I echo the chairman's comments about all the great work that you're doing and making these things work, and we would love to have all, like he said, you haven't asked for a bunch of $300,000 trucks. I'm sure you would take them, but if we could give them to you, but we're making it work here, and this is an investment that every individual taxpayer can see the results of, because we all want our trash picked up, and it's nothing worse than when you put it out and it doesn't get picked up, and we want to make sure that it's not delayed, because that's one of the great services that we provide here in Warwick. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
We have a motion for favor, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Matt. Item 2019-308, purchase Simon Duplex fire truck, found on page 70. Chief?
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
Peter McMichael, Chief, Warwick Fire Department. The Fire Department is seeking expending authorization in a 56-6 bid for the purchase of a pre-owned 1994 Simon Duplex LTI ladder truck from the town of Westerly. This ladder truck has 18,800 miles on it and only 968 aerial hours on it. It is equipped with a Detroit 60 series motor, Allison automatic transmission, 110-foot certified aerial ladder, and a built-in 10-kilowatt generator. It also comes equipped with 6 ground ladders, which is one 12-foot ground ladder, 2 20-footers, and one 28-foot ground ladder, and 2 35-foot ground ladders. It's also equipped with 2 electrical cord reels and pre-piped waterway to the tip of the 110-foot aerial. All of these items are included in this purchase price. The ladder truck has been inspected by city mechanics, and after their review, it was recommended that the vehicle is a sound vehicle in excellent condition, and that this was a reasonable asking price that they were asking for it. The vehicle has also been inspected and tested per NFPA standards by National Engineering and Testing Services, a certified ladder and aerial testing company. The asking price of this vehicle was $35,000. This was considered to be a very reasonable and good price for the vehicle. However, Mayor Solomon further negotiated the price down to $25,750 after our repair division identified some normal wear issues, such as worn tires and other minor issues that they could take care of. Additionally, to further save the taxpayers' money, our firefighters are removing other items from the old ladder one, such as hand lights, chargers, radios, brackets, and tools, and installing them themselves on the new ladder truck. This will allow the Warwick Fire Department to once again have 3 strategically located ladder trucks in the city. The city is the least expensive ladder truck that we have discovered in our search, and will provide the city with their frontline ladder truck that the department will be able to use as a reserve truck in the future. Funding for this purchase will come from a $35,799 fixed asset account.
And Chief, those several repairs that you had alluded to, have they been taken care of? Have those repairs been made, or will they be made, I should say, prior to us receiving the truck?
Most of them have been taken care of, and after your decision tonight, we will move further with the rest of those repairs.
And if the city had to go out and purchase this vehicle new, what would that cost?
These vehicles new, on the low end, would be around $850,000 up to $1 million. So we recognize that the city does not have the funds to make this kind of purchase right now. This is the best priced and best conditioned type of vehicle that we've seen in our search. This was found by one of our own members, our Battalion Chief Tom Bradley, discovered this vehicle, brought it to our attention, and this will put us back to full staffing with 3 ladder companies in the city.
And is the intent for the truck that this is replacing, is the intent to sell that vehicle?
Yes, sir. That vehicle requires extensive repair that makes it fiscally impractical to put any further funds into that vehicle, so it will be sold.
So when you sell that vehicle for whatever the amount is that you sell it for, that's going to further lower the investment into this vehicle?
Yes, sir.
That only has
Yes, sir.
18,800 miles on it.
Yes, sir. That's amazing. It's in fantastic condition.
I've been on this council going on 7 years, and it's the first time that this type of scenario has occurred with fire trucks. And I can tell you I'm pleased, again, to see the efforts made. Also, this thing with the numbers being crunched, kudos to the fire department, to your firefighter that spotted it, and to Mayor Solomon for using his previous experience in the vehicle business to get us an even better price on the vehicle. I think this is very important because, again, it goes to what we've been working on so hard over the last two and a half years about doing a little more with a little less. This is exactly what we need to do. This is what I believe with what's going on in the corner office and what's happening here at the City Council. This type of attitude and this type of culture is going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to do our due diligence to get us back on track. Any questions from members of the committee? Councilman McAllister.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I want to commend you for this as well. I went over and looked at the truck. The Deputy Chief was there, and I was talking to one of the firefighters, and he mentioned all the different ladders and all the other equipment that is coming with the truck. And he had said, this is a great value for the price we're getting just for this equipment that's in there, all these ladders and everything like that. This was a great opportunity that we took advantage of. Again, we would all love to have brand new equipment, brand new things, but you've come to us here, you found a great deal. We'll be able to use this. We have a grant that came in that we approved here, and we're having a new truck coming at the end of the year. And this helps. Again, having these trucks on the road, it allows other trucks to come off, get repaired, so it doesn't get all the way so you can't drive them anymore, because you can do preventative maintenance. So this is really an outstanding purchase, and it's a great opportunity, and I appreciate, again, this is the first time I've been on the council, less than Councilman Lattiser, but this is the first time I've seen it as well, and I appreciate that. We had our people look at it. I believe one of the deal was it had to pass inspection, and if it didn't pass inspection, Wesley was going to pay for the inspection, and we'd part friends. But it passed, so we did our due diligence, and that's why that's included in the price. So again, I want to commend you and your department and all the individual people that worked on this, because this is great, and hopefully we can find more opportunities like this.
We're trying.
Yeah, exactly. But and then you found it and you brought it here, and I'm going to be supporting it. Thank you.
Councilman.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to go ahead and just take one moment and put these in real numbers. So the chief is quoted as saying a new ladder truck, with or without all the bells and whistles that are coming with this truck, Chief, would you say is the price you gave, with or without all the ladders and all the equipment?
So the prices that I gave would vary based on...
Excuse me, Chief. Please shut off all cell phones. Please turn off all cell phones. Thank you.
So that's without all the bells and whistles on it, that the prices I was giving.
So with the ladders and everything, Mr. Chairman, let's just look at the big numbers, because a lot of discussion and concern tonight, as it should be. With the mayor, the chief, the fire department, the firefighters, everyone doing their due diligence as a department, as a city, the budget chairman, the chief, everyone involved. We're getting at least a $1 million truck with 18,000 miles on it. It's got some years on it, but it's got 18,000 miles on it, which is nothing compared to what the city's going to do to it. For $824,000 we saved to $974,000, including all the equipment that comes with it. That's a big number.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations and thank you.
Also, I don't want to make this go any longer than necessary, but we also have, as Councilman McAllister pointed out, somewhere around a $700,000 rescue coming in for 72 grand.
Yes, that's right.
And in the past, before you arrived, Chief, this Finance Committee, not just in the fire department, in the police department, in DPW, this Finance Committee has stopped and booted out millions of dollars of equipment that we could not afford. So we don't hesitate to do it, but we also understand we have a city to run. This is a $330 million corporation that we have to run.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so you including, thank you for reminding me about the rescue. You including the rescue, the savings are about $1.702 million.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from the public? Sir?
Going back to how the budget was originally presented last year.
Roy, the mic,
Was
please.
this a capital item?
Roy, in the mic, please.
The mic's not on?
Yeah.
Going back to the original capital items that were presented to the council last year, was this particular reserve truck presented as an item that would have had to been purchased during the year? And if so, what was the amount that was being requested? I agree with everything you just said in terms of the culture that you've changed and what the chief had come up here
Well,
and
it's not
presented.
just that I've changed.
It's a lot of change.
This entire council, et cetera.
This chief is totally different from prior chiefs and what he just presented up here. And so is Mr. Matt from the Department of Public Works as to what he just presented. But to show the difference, I'm just wondering, or if this was presented as being a lease, normally it would be a lease, part of the lease items presented to the council prior to the budget year. If this particular reserve truck was presented as another $1 million necessity to this city council.
What I do know is we didn't vote on it. That's what I do know. Whether or not it was presented a year ago, I'm not sure. But I do know we didn't vote on it. I do know in 2016, in one meeting, we denied almost $1 million worth of vehicles that we knew we couldn't afford and we felt we didn't need. And that's when the first term came up from this finance committee that we expect you to do a little more with a little less. And it took some time to change an 18-year culture, but it is changing, as you're witnessing. And thank you, by the way, for expressing the kudos to the chief and the department head. Because when you have people who are doing a real good job, who understand that we have these issues that we have to deal with, but also realize this isn't getting turned around in one meeting or one day or 1 year. This is going to take time. We're in a healing process. It's going to take time. But while you're healing, you still need to run a city.
Thank you for their efforts.
Thank you, Roy. Thanks for your comments. Any other comments from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. (2020-32) Document Management Services, found on page 73.
Good evening. Lori Michaelides on behalf of the Police Department. The department is seeking exception to bid and authorization to renew our subscription for document management system software, which is required by CALEA, which is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. The system is called Power DMS. It's the only system that CALEA uses. CALEA mandates every accredited agency have this system for the purpose of policy maintenance, as well as proof of compliance during accreditation processes. This system manages a number of documents. In fact, officers can actually log into the system from any desktop or from their cell phone and access the city's all-hazard plan, city ordinances, the Rhode Island General Law Book, our policy manual, rules and regs, special orders, our range calendar, as well as our fleet plan, and a number of other documents as well. In addition, this software generates quizzes based on our documents that officers take to verify their understanding and competency with our policies on a monthly basis. This new contract is for a 4-year term. It'll commence on July 1st, 2019 and expire June 30th, 2023. The department has had Power DMS since 2015. The total price is $30,165 for the 4-year period. If approved, the purchase will come from the police department's operating budget, code 30-231, supplies and computer.
Major, what is the term of the current contract?
It was a 4-year contract as well. We entered into it in 2015. It expires July 20th, 2019.
So why do we need to do this 4 years?
We don't need to. There's a slight savings if you do it in the lump sum versus an annual.
How much of a savings?
$1,000 and $1,055.
Per year
No,
or
total.
in total?
Yes.
Is there any other options for us besides this particular system?
Unfortunately, there is not.
And if we were to vote no, what happens?
Our accreditation status would be affected.
And how much will that cost?
Well, I mean, accreditation status comes into play in a number of areas. With respect to our recruitment, all of our advertising says, we're an accredited agency. I used to write grants for the police department, a number of federal grants. Are you an accredited agency? Yes, we are. It would bring us to a next level. Also, with respect to liability, when the police department happens to get sued for maybe a use of force or something else, they're going to come back and say, well, what has the police department done to maintain up-to-date training? And we're going to point right to CALIA and say, well, we're an accredited agency with 100% compliance with over 400 standards.
And this is something that the police department has been working on very diligently for a good long time.
We were
Correct?
first accredited in 1997.
And you have continuously been accredited.
That's correct.
And I think we all are aware of the incredible amount of lawsuits that the police department has going on throughout the country. And we are also aware of the importance of getting the grants that you get, partly because of the accreditation. So if we were to vote no on this, a lot of those things are going to go away.
That's correct.
And we're not going to be able to operate the police department as efficiently or as effectively as you are now.
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion, please.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
2020-036, disposal of solid waste fund on page 75. Hi, Christy.
Hi. Public Works has received the contract from Rhode Island Resource Recovery, which is the landfill in Johnston, for a 2-year period. We are asking for a 2-year contract to expire June 30th, 2021, in the amount of $2,500,000. And I just wanted to point out in your package, rather than have you hunt through the contract, number 4 and number 6 are pretty much the most important ones. Our solid waste cap is actually going up a little. However, the per ton fee will remain the same for the next 2 years as what we are paying this year. The over the cap fee, however, is going from $67 a ton to $80. So we do obviously encourage recycling in the city of Warwick. And then we also always take advantage of the early payment discount, which gives us a 1.5% discount of the monthly bill if we pay it within 20 days.
Christy, a few comments on this. One is that's one of the reasons Councilwoman Travis and myself and several other department heads are working on landlord-tenant ordinance, because the taxpayers are paying a price for the exorbitant cost of having to chase down pickup mattresses, in some cases as many as 30, 40, 50 or more calls to rental properties to pick up stuff left behind from the renters. And it's a significant problem. And we are addressing that. And like anything else, it's very, very time-consuming. We've already had several meetings on that. But we recognize it's a problem, and we are committed to fixing that problem. Regarding your pricing, I can relate to these costs from plenty of experience. And I can tell you, in my business, I use a lot of dumpsters, and getting a deal, I pay $95 a ton for anything over my limit in the dumpster. and I'm paying $550 for a 30-yard dumpster. So while these numbers may sound exorbitant, I can tell you that they are a very good number. And I know the waste management, Johnston landfill, whatever they call themselves, went up significantly this past July because I took the hit. So, yeah, I think this is a necessary item, and I think the numbers that you have are certainly much better than we pay in the private sector. Sir?
Yeah, I wanted to say that as well, that the state, they raised these last year, correct? And that just gets kind of, or last fiscal year, and of course that comes down to the cities here. So our friends at the state, we need to remind them that, you know, everyone, we want our trash picked up and taken away, and recycling is very important, as you can see, because it costs a lot. Thank you.
Chrissy, I'd just point out, too, I had the same concern about this contract not being signed by a principal of the vendor, but you had explained that
Yes,
previously as
this
well.
one actually also needs to be signed by legal as well, so that's another step.
And Mike, I can't hear you.
It needs to be signed by legal as well.
Correct.
But we'll make sure that's all taken care of.
Okay, any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any comments, questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2020-039, found on page 85. Thank you, Christie. Munis software maintenance.
Once again, Phil Carlucci, MIS Director. This is a request under City Ordinance 56-6, exception to bid, to award the Munis software support contract in supporting report management software to Tyler Technologies as a sole source. The Munis system is what the entire city uses. It's an enterprise resource planning system, an ERP system. It is what we use to handle purchasing, payroll, finance, as well as the revenue-generating portion of the city, such as tax collection, water, sewer. From that end, there are two components of this bid. One is the software itself, the maintenance on the software itself. The other component is a report writer that Munis has discontinued. We've delayed this cost as long as possible, but we are going to need to upgrade so that we have something we can report out to the committee, the finance department can use going forward. So we're trying to bundle this all together with the date of July 1st. This is a one-year service agreement for the software, and it runs from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
And Phil, I'm sorry, you are also determined to continue training of our staff on this Munis. I know you haven't been here all that long, but for those folks who have, you've heard myself and many of my colleagues on the council express a discontentment with this Munis program. And as I'm learning more and more, it's not so much the program, it's that our staff need more training, which over the last 17 or 18 years, that training certainly has not been forthcoming.
That's true.
And I'm happy to hear that you are committed to doing that, and the mayor is also committed to making sure we can take advantage of what this Munis does. Because if you can work the magic in that Munis, we're going to have a much more productive city, we're going to have much more productive staff, and that, in the end, is going to translate into a more efficient government.
Absolutely.
Any comments from members of the committee? Any questions? Members of the council? Members of the public? Any comments, questions? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, moving on, acceptance of the minutes, there are none. We are going to PCR 70, resolution relative to abatements.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
evening,
members of the
sir.
Finance Committee, members of the Council. Neil Dupuy, Director of Assessing. Tonight we have abatements for the month in the amount of $3,831.73. I'll take any questions if you have them.
And would you please explain the reason for those abatements?
There's various abatements. A couple were Board of Review. So those are taxpayers that challenged the assessment, went in front of the board of the city, and the board did grant the reduction in 2 of those cases. There's another motor vehicle where there was a registry error with their new computer system. There was a conversion issue where property owner did not come over correctly. And lastly, there were 2 abatements, 2 different years for the same individual. Active in the current military service, stationed here only because of military activities, and because of that, that vehicle should not have been taxed, should have been tax exempt.
All right, any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. PCR 15218, resolution relative to abatements.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is an abatement that first came in front of the committee back in September of 2018. There were some questions from the committee at that time. We've done our due diligence, gone through and had a legal interpretation. In between then and now, there was the change of the administration, so we had to bring the new legal team up to speed as well. They have gone through the resolution, and Assistant Solicitor Peter Clarkin made a ruling that, the agreement was valid. They had met their obligations under the agreement, and the city did have to go forward and process the abatement that resulted.
And this is something that you have been working with the Finance Committee on for, 6 months, 7 months? For a very long time.
Yes.
Because collectively, between your intervention and the Finance Committee, we've been holding this abatement because we weren't satisfied with either the lack of information, no information, or perhaps the information we received. Neither of us, you or this committee, were satisfied with that. So there's no rubber stamp on this either. And at the end of the day, you did your due diligence. You also got our new assistant solicitor involved in this process. And in the end, this is what we have.
Correct. This agreement goes back to 2016, again, under the prior administration. So it's part of the cleanup, if you will, of some of the other issues that were left to us to deal with.
Thank you for your efforts on the cleanup. We certainly understand about cleanup. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion favorable, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
PCR 5719.
Roy Michaelides on behalf of the Police Department. Mr. Chair, I'm
Major,
actually...
into the mic. That mic, for some reason, doesn't pick up unless you're really close to it.
Mr. Chair, I'm requesting to hold this till 5:20.
Okay. At the request of the sponsor, I need a motion to hold till when, Major?
May 20th.
May 20th.
Motion to hold to May 20.
Seconded.
We have a motion to hold to May 20th at the request of the sponsor. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Major.
Thank you.
PCR 5819, formerly 2019-271. Major?
In March, the Police Department went out to bid on a maintenance contract for 9 Panasonic laptops and 18 G-Tech tablets under bid number 2019-271 and received only 1 qualified bid. The Police Department is recommending that this award be awarded to CTS Services of Bellingham, Massachusetts. If approved, financing for these purchases would be from the Police Department operating budget, Budget Code 30-340, for a total not to exceed $7,737. I'd like to note there was an error on the original quote that was submitted. They had a quantity error. We had requested a quote for 4 particular tablets. They gave us a quote for 5. So that's the difference that you're seeing between the original quote amount of $8,136 and our requested amount of $7,737.
Thank you, Major. And again, we had held this item because of that discrepancy. And it was something that we actually identified together. And the end result is you did your due diligence, and it's back before us with the corrections. Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. PCR 6219, formerly 2020-19, hydraulic parts and repairs. Christie?
I'm requesting to hold until May 20th.
Good decision, Christie.
I haven't received the documentation from the vendor yet. That's
Correct. And we haven't received it in our package, so good decision. Need a motion to hold till May 20th.
Motion to hold to May 20th.
Seconded.
With the request of the sponsor, we have a motion to hold till May 20th. Oh, sorry, we'll go back to that one. What are we saying? Item number 6. We'll go back to that. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay, we are on 6219, 2020-19. At the request of the sponsor, we're going to hold till May 20th so they can get additional info. Okay, we're going to circle back to PCR 5919, 2019-277.
Department, again, requests to hold to May 20th.
At the request of the sponsor, we're going to hold till May 20th.
Motion to hold to May 20.
Seconded.
Good choice. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christie. It is now 7:16. The Finance Committee is adjourned. Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're ready to go right into it.
Thank you. The time is 7:16 p.m. Health, Education, and Welfare Committee is now open. There are no minutes to be accepted. Item number 1, PCR 21-19, resolution relative to the Educational Outreach Committee. Not drafted. Councilman Lattiser.
Hold on May 20th.
Motion is made. May I have a motion to hold till May 20th?
Make a motion to hold on May 20th.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The time is now 7:17 p.m. Health, Education, and Welfare is closed.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we will move to the Ordinance Committee.
A test on the record.
And then for the estimates, the ones that I'm issue here, they're not really bad. Because
I call the Ordinance Committee at 7:20. There are no minutes to be accepted. Number one is PCO 8-19, qualification for appointment to the Land Trust. This is for second passage. Councilman Howe?
The last thing we need is more delays. I'm so sorry. What are we speaking on?
So this is for the appointments for the Land Trust. This is for second passage. We are cleaning up the language in there.
For second passage, I move for favorable action. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And this has to do with who can be appointed, and you need to be a resident of Warwick to be on the Land Trust. So this is just cleaning up some language from what was originally drafted. We've had a hearing. It has passed. This is for second passage. Do we have any questions from members of the committee? Any questions? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Favorable action, second. All those in favor? Aye. Second up is PCO 10-19, an ordinance in regards to water discharge. This is not drafted. Councilman Lattiser.
Hold May 20th.
Okay, do I have a motion here?
Motion to hold till May 20th.
Second.
We have a motion to hold to May 20th. Any questions from the audience? If not, motion to hold to May 20th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That closes the Ordinance Committee at 7:22.
We'll move on to the Public Safety Committee, please.
Public Safety will now convene at 7:24. And first, we have minutes to accept from the prior meeting.
To accept?
There are none to be accepted.
Accepted. What am I looking at? February 4th. Why is
You got your,
All right. All right, maybe not. Moving right along to our claims. First, we have claim for Melanie Shackelford.
Welcome back.
Hi, welcome back. And it looks like you submitted the estimates we were looking for?
Yes.
And have you replaced this tire yet?
No, I have not.
So it looks like the lowest estimate is $116.92.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question. So the $116.92, where'd you get that from, online?
I'm sorry, what was it?
The claim you got here, was that online? And what, did you get the online quote through a local business that would include the installation, just having it?
I honestly couldn't find it anywhere. Like it took me about an hour and a half with my 9-month-old at the library to try to find
Okay.
what I did. It took me forever to find the tire because I was looking at the grooves in the tire and everything because it's really hard to find.
Yes.
I didn't know where else to look.
You did your due diligence. You did exactly what we asked, and I thank you for that.
Any further question from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Seeing none, we'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to move for approval in the lowest estimated amount of $116.92 in favorable action.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All set?
So you're all set.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next claim is Francis Delbonis.
I'm speaking on behalf of my husband. I'm Kimberly Delbonis. He goes to work at 11 o'clock at night and he's at home sleeping right now.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, looks like you got 3 estimates. Department recommended approval at $158.23. Does anyone have any questions? Members of the committee? Member of the council have any questions? Members of the public? Seeing none, we'd entertain a motion.
Move for favorable action in the amount approved by the department for $158.23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All set.
Thank you.
Next on here, we have amendment to ordinance relative to parking on Heriff Jones Way, PCO 11-19. First passage not drafted.
Request hold to May 20th.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
PCO 12-19, ordinance in regards to a no parking between signs on Eaton Ave to be placed on NG pole number 12, pointed towards Bluff Ave. And that's first passage. Councilman McElroy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is for a no parking sign in front of a house of a resident on Eaton Avenue who is legally blind. So she wants to have no parking there so that she can be able to get out the state vans that come to pick her up. There has been a traffic study on this and it's recommended for a no parking sign.
All right, so a traffic study was conducted and it came back with favorable as far as putting a no parking sign in. Does any members of the committee have any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman.
I'm familiar with the situation, and this seems entirely appropriate, especially as backed by the police report. Thank you.
Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Move for favorable action, PCO 12-19.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we'll go back to the rest of the claims. We have a claim for Ryan Cabral. Is Ryan Cabral here? And we want to move to hold.
Move to hold to May 20th.
Seconded.
So it's now going to be PCR 75-19. It's going to be held till May 20th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have Edward Allinson. I apologize if I'm getting the pronunciation wrong.
How you doing?
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Edward Allinson.
All right, looks like you got damage from a pothole. You got 3 estimates. The department recommends approval in the amount of $114.93. You correctly filled out your affidavit.
300.
Number 1, Edward Allinson.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong claim before me. Excuse me.
Do any members of the committee have any questions? Give me a second.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Any members of the council have any questions? Any members of the public? Seeing none, we entertain a motion.
Move for favorable action, $114.93.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next claim is Ulrich Murphy. Again, I apologize for pronunciation failures.
Hello, I'm Ulrich Murphy.
Alrighty. And your car was damaged on Love Lane by a pothole, correct?
Yes.
Alright. You correctly filled out the affidavit. You got 4 estimates, 2 for your rim, 2 for your tires, and then an invoice for your rim, right?
Correct.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we can't hear her here.
Yeah.
Need to speak into the mic.
You're going to have to lean real close to that mic. It's finicky.
Yes, there's 3 estimates for a rim, 2 estimates for tires.
All right, the department recommended approval in the amount of $300, and the affidavit's correctly filled out. Does any members of the committee have any questions?
I just do real quick. Can you on record just verify? It says right here, date of incident was, it's fixed. It looks like it originally said 5 p.m., then it goes to 6 p.m. Is it 5 or 6 p.m. that the incident happened?
6 p.m.
It is 6 p.m., and you notified the call at 6:26 p.m.?
To AAA, yes.
To AAA, yes. Thank you.
Any further questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Seeing none, we entertain a motion.
I just need, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. So I'm looking at the invoice is for one item, which is a rim. However, it shows tires on the, it says tires and rims from the 2 other places, but Ruggieri did the auto part for the rim. I understand the approval is for the claim is for 300, but we have,
The rim was 160, and it is not new, it is old.
oh, no, that's not, what I'm looking for is just the paperwork to back up what we're doing. That's so, oh, but no, please, go, and then, so you did replace the tire?
Absolutely.
Okay, from the same place?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was a junkyard.
Got it,
So
okay.
the tire was replaced by Town Fair Tire.
It was Town Fair, okay, thank you. I make a motion for approval of this claim, favorable action of $300.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Next claim we have is Doreen Ireland. Hi, can you grab the mic and just state your name for the record?
Doreen Ireland.
All right, looks like your affidavit's correctly filled out. Department recommended approval of $146.96 due to damage from a pothole. Any members of the committee have any questions?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Quickly, I apologize. Ms. Ireland, the pothole is over to the right. I'm aware of Knight Avenue. Was it, if you tried to avoid it, or did you not see it in time? I noticed that it was done during the daylight still.
Yeah, no, had I avoided it, I would have been in oncoming traffic.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Any further questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Seeing none, we entertain a motion.
Move for favorable action in the amount of $146.96.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All set.
Thank you.
Next claim is Brian Bongiovanni. Again, my apologies on pronunciation. Hi, can you put that mic real close to your mouth and state your name for the record?
Brian Bongiovanni.
All right, and you have a claim for pothole damage. Your affidavit's correctly filled out, and the department recommends approval of the claim for $300. Any members of the committee have any questions?
That's my question. Sir, where on Cohasset were you driving?
I was driving towards Diamond Hill from Post Road.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public?
I'm good to go.
All right, seeing none, entertain a motion.
Make a motion for the recommended amount of $300.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
What is my next step moving forward?
You will be notified by the city, and they will cut you a check.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So next claimant, Emily Boudreau. Boudreau? Howdy, just get real close to that mic and state your name for the record.
Emily Boudreau.
So you had damage from a pothole, affidavit's filled out correctly, and the department recommends approval of the claim for $300. Do any members of the committee have any questions?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Any members of the council have any questions? Any members of the public have any questions? Seeing none, we entertain a motion.
Move for favorable action, $300.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All set.
Thank you.
Oh, I apologize in advance on pronunciation. The claim is for Maja Veskovic. Hi, can you state your name for the record?
Maya Veskovich.
All right, so you had damage from pothole on Love Lane. Department recommends approval for $300. We have some issues with your affidavit, though. So if you don't mind, I got to walk you through some tedious steps. And by me, I mean the solicitor. You want it? Yeah, it's right in the front.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Sure.
I'm going to walk you through this, but just focus on here, right? So, So as part of this process, we needed you to check one of the boxes here in the affidavit, and we can have you verbally attest to it as follows, if you understand, as we walk through it. So under number 2, you have 3 options. You need to attest to one of them, and it has to do with whether you have sought compensation. And it looks like you've started going down into number 3, but is it your intent that you would be addressing the information number 3, that you are seeking or intend to seek compensation from a source or sources other than and/or in the addition to the City of Warwick, including but not limited to any insurance company, for any loss arising from the above described incident? And then the sources that you're going to seek them from are what we're asking you to itemize. So you've itemized in your affidavit that you have a cracked rim in the amount of $626.98. Is it your intent to... Is it your intent to seek the balance of that money from somewhere else that could leave the city in a position to somebody else's claim? Or are you not looking to recoup more than the $300 that we can provide as it relates to pothole claims? And that would be item number 1.
We're looking just to get the $300.
Okay, then if you can verbally attest that that you're here and you'd like to add to the record here that you would like to check box 1 as it relates to pursuing the $300 and that you are not seeking compensation from other sources. You just
Yes.
say yes in the record.
Yes.
Okay. Satisfied.
So reading the affidavit, I just have a few questions I'd like to find out, and actually I'm going to ask the solicitor if he wouldn't mind. This is learning experience. The person putting in for the claim is the owner of the car. The person that was driving the car when the claim was made was the boyfriend. Does that mean that the city has an obligation towards the owner of the car, considering that the driver... Oh, no problem. That the driver was not the owner of the car, therefore the owner of the car should go after the driver? Thank you.
I wouldn't be, the city shouldn't be making individuals' legal option recommendations, so.
Can I add something? If the boyfriend took care of the rim, and now the boyfriend's trying to get money from the state, is that something to argue?
All the committee is handling is the claim against the city. The incident happened on a city road, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Love Lane.
I apologize, I missed the answer to what was your answer, Mr. Harrington?
The committee's just considering the claim. The incident happened on a city road, and so they're making the claim. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Seeing none, we can entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I intend on making a motion. I'm just reviewing just a few more things, just to follow up. But I do want to identify that the picture that was taken, and I appreciate it, it says that the pothole was filled the next day, and I can see that, so I want to thank and compliment DPW for that quick action on that. I make a motion for the payment of $300 in a favorable action.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All set.
Thank you.
Next claim is Shirley Brown Mullen.
I don't have any of this paper.
Shirley Brown Mullen. Do we have a motion to hold?
Yeah. Motion to hold until May 20th. Second.
All in favor? So PCR 7619, there's been a motion to hold, and there's been a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I ask for just a 2-minute brief. Are these continuations of the claim, or are they in
We'll go, no.
Hold on one sec, let me just go through maybe some of them. I might take.
All right, next we have John Nazarian. It's right here for you.
Thank you.
This is another one.
How are you?
Hi, can you just state your name for the record, please?
John F. Nazarian.
And now, similar to one of the prior claims you saw, there's issues with your affidavit. So similar to one of the prior claims you heard, where we had to walk through the affidavit because there was an issue, we have to do that again here.
I don't understand. I filled everything out.
No worries, the solicitor will help explain it.
So we're just looking for clarification with the affidavit that you sought here. You're seeking, under the third option, compensation higher than the 300 that can be provided.
Yes.
And are you here tonight understanding the pothole rules and that under the state law, we're limited to only providing the $300 as a cap?
I am, but I was also under the impression, I was told, because my insurance paid for the rims, which was $1,300, the strut and rock-around, it come out to $2,060, and then a $500 deductible, which I cannot redeem. And the hole was almost a foot deep. It was full with water. It threw me off the road on Pella Drive into the left lane, which I hit the curb and took out 4 tires. It's a 2017 Cadillac CT6, it's a $74,000 car. I mean, so when I spoke in the office in here to file all the paperwork, filed the forms, got all the estimates, I mean, it was fairly reasonably cheap for, you know, what I'm asking for, to be honest with you. And the woman said it wouldn't make a difference as long as I showed up at this committee, you know, the council, to discuss this matter and give all the estimates, which I did.
And if the committee were to proceed with the $300 cap that they're allowed to
Then I would
send,
proceed with my attorney to go after the money that I am entitled to, because I almost got killed. And I want it for the record, I am 100%, I am a war veteran. And it's a lot of money out of my pocket to take out of my kid's mouth. So I would like to get a favorable decision. For most of your decisions you made all night in here were favorable. And I think it's only fair.
so what I believe the committee would be looking for is just for you to attest that if they proceed with a $300 award, that $300 award won't be won't be challenged again, so that you would only be seeking any differential between the amount that was expended as well as 300 that
I
would be.
would just like the expense to me for my tires that I paid for out of my pocket, which
Okay.
is $1,259.
So the committee is,
I wouldn't go for anything else. I'm not looking for the insurance money that my insurance paid for my vehicle or anything, if that's what you're asking me. No. I won't accept $300.
hang on one second, please.
Just to be clear, you said you will, you won't accept 300?
I will not accept, you got all the estimates in front of you,
Yes.
what it cost me. You have everything right there, sir, in front of you.
Yep.
There's 3 estimates for everything that was done, that you've asked me. I've done everything you've asked me to do.
It's not a question of whether what we asked you to do or not. The state law that we have to follow
Right.
says the cap is $300.
Okay, but I mean, there's been instances where you've made arrangements to pay for damages that, I mean, it was almost a pothole full with water.
I understand, we've approved $300. We didn't approve anything further than 300, that's our limit, 300. So people came to us and we said maximum amount, $300.
No, when I asked, they said that I could come to this committee and it could be granted or awarded to me because of the circumstances of what happened. So I was misled then,
It sounds that way.
and I don't think that's fair.
Councilman Lattiser?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nazarian, have you received any compensation outside of this body for this damage?
No, all I received was my insurance. My collision paid for the rims on my vehicle. They paid for the strut, and they paid for the rock around, which come out to $2,060. And plus, I had to pay a $500 deductible, which I can't redeem, obviously, because it's a deductible. So they paid for that, and then I put the claim in for my tires and I got the 3 estimates, which come out to $1,250. That was the cheapest.
I'm confused. Why didn't the insurance company pay for your tires if it was part of this damage?
Because it was a pothole. They will not pay for the tires, and that's when I came to file the paperwork here.
Yeah, but it started as a pothole, and then it knocked you across the street, and you hit the
And
curb.
I hit the
And the curb, you
broke
said...
all 4 tires.
Correct. That's my point. When you hit the curb, you said that's when you blew out all 4
I
tires.
hit the pothole, the right side of my car, hit the
Right.
pothole, took the 2 tires out, sent me to the left. I hit the curb, it took out the other 2 tires.
Okay, so
It
all...
drove me, I went up the curb, sir.
Right.
It destroyed the rims, my strut, my right strut, and my right rock around in my vehicle.
But 2 tires and 2 rims were as a result of hitting the pothole. The other 2 tires and the other 2 rims were because of, for whatever reason...
Pothole threw me over into the left curb, sir.
Correct. For whatever
So
reason...
it's resulted from the pothole, sir.
I'm all done.
Well, I mean, really? I mean, you gotta be kidding me. You're gonna tell me just the pothole did that?
Sir,
I went into a curb,
Sir,
I just drove into it?
I am just asking questions, but you're not allowing me
I'm
the
sorry,
time
I
to ask the
apologize.
question.
I just took it, that's how you were saying it, that's why.
I'm making a point that 2 tires and 2 rims were damaged by the pothole. After hitting the pothole, there was loss of control of the vehicle that went across the street and hit the curb, and that's what blew out the other 2 tires and the other 2 rims.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. So I'm just disseminating information
All
to
right,
the
I
committee.
apologize.
They make the determination. The insurance company paid for the rims, they paid for the struts, the alignment, et cetera. The question becomes, were they obligated to pay for the tires? From the testimony, if the insurance company does not pay for the tires, which, that's bizarre, but if they don't pay for the tires as a result of hitting the pothole, then when he lost control of the vehicle and went across the street and hit the curb, in my humble opinion, I'm not an attorney, in my opinion, that was collision.
Well, they used the
That
collision to
wasn't
cover the damage
pothole,
of the
that was
rims
collision.
and the strut.
So that being the case, I would assume, I would think, that the insurance company would be responsible for those 2 tires and the 2 rims, leaving you with the decision of what state law mandates. That's all. I'm just sharing information.
If you want, I could bring the insurance paper in what they paid for and said because it was a city pothole, they will not cover the tires.
Councilman Ricks?
Sir, that won't be necessary. I have a couple of questions, 2 questions for you, okay? First, let me make the statement that's already been made. Under state law, for pothole damage, the most that can be awarded to a claimant is $300. You've claimed more than $300. The original question that was asked by my assistant was, if they award you the $300, are you then waiving any other claims that you have against the city? Because let me just tell you, it's not a trick question.
All right, explain
Because
that
if
to
your answer is no, then my recommendation to them is not to award the $300 because of a further claim, the city could be facing a further claim.
Okay. And if I accepted 300, that's all I would get for the money that I...
That's all you get from the city because under state law, where there's damage from a pothole, the cap is $300.
Okay.
What the other cases you heard here tonight, some of them were only $160. Nothing went over $300.
All right, I understand.
Okay?
I'll take the $300.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
We got a few people. First, Councilman Ricks has been waiting, and then Councilman Lattiser.
It seems to me, and this is a question for our city solicitor, I don't expect you to represent the insurance companies or anything like that, but hypothetically, if a denial were issued by this committee and the council stating that the damage was due to, appears to have been due to the collision, including the damage to the tires, denying the full amount, would Mr. Nazarian be able to then take, or his attorney, take and present that denial to the insurance company in order to seek full compensation from them? Not that they would necessarily grant it, but would that give him the power to seek that, as it seems that they are denying the tires as part of the claim for some reason unknown to this body?
The reason was because they said it was caused from a pothole, which is city responsibility. So they paid for, used the collision part of my insurance to cover, like I said, the strut, the rock around, the four-wheel alignment, and the alloy rims. And I couldn't claim the tires. They would not pay for the tires. And that's exactly, I'm just a little upset because it's very expensive. And I understand you have a cap, and I'll take the 300 and take the loss, I guess.
Councilman, I learned a long time ago not to answer hypothetical questions. All I will say to you in response is that the claimant had the option of where to pursue the claim. By bringing the claim here, he brings it under the state law with the $300 cap. What ramifications that may have to him dealing with his insurance company, whether it's denied or approved, I can't forecast that.
If I may have a follow-up, and I know that obviously this all happened very quickly, but when hitting the pothole before hitting the curb, did it seem like one tire or multiple tires went by hitting the pothole?
The pothole was full of water, so you couldn't see that the hole was deep. So once I went over the hole, it threw the car to the left. So both tires struck the pothole, which whacked them right out, and it just threw the car to the left. And if you've been on Powell Drive, where Bargain Outlet is, the road's not wide. And I went right into the curb, and it took out the other 2 tires in my rim. So, it was that quick, like boom, boom.
In that case...
And the AAA papers there where they had to come and flatbed the car, it's all there.
In that case, each tire is over $300 because the total for the 4 tires is $1,259.96. So based on what you're saying, it seems that perhaps 1 or 2 tires were lost, damaged due to the pothole, and the other 2, at least 2, were lost, damaged due to the curb. So perhaps in the approval of this, the city could specifically note that damage to 1 to 2 tires, and that would leave you free because we would be denying the damage to the other 2 tires for you to try to get a little money over that from the insurance company.
If you
as it
want to
seems
call
it's-
USAA Insurance and ask them if they want to do that, I'll give you the number of all my information, and if they, because they're putting it on you, saying they will not pay for the tires.
So-
That's what it, I know what you're trying to say, I understand.
I'm just trying to help.
No, I just want you, I understand that, but I'm not the insurance company. This is what they told me. This is what they paid for. This is what they won't pay for.
Councilman Lattiser?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nazarian, first of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you, welcome.
And as one member of the military to another, my suggestion, again, I'm not an attorney, but I deal with insurance companies all the time. My suggestion would be to go back and have another go-round with your insurance company, because they acknowledged that there was a collision. They said to you, we paid for the collision. They paid for the rim, they paid for the struts, et cetera, et cetera. They hadn't acknowledged a collision. The pothole was the beginning, but they paid for all the rims, they paid for the struts. They acknowledged a collision occurred.
Correct.
I look at it as no different than if you swerve to avoid hitting a pedestrian in the street. You're supposed to go after the pedestrian? Of course, that's absurd.
I understand.
But,
Like I
thank you
said,
for your
sir,
service, sir. My suggestion would be to have a discussion with your insurance company again, is how can they make that determination that a collision occurred, but they're not going to pay for full damage for that collision?
And that's where they left me. That's where they left me, and that's why I filled the paperwork out the way I did.
That's why I fight with insurance companies all the time.
I understand.
Good luck with that, sir.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Nazarian, just to confirm, so if we approve the $300, you're not going to come back to after the city for any remaining difference, correct?
No, I don't need the money that bad. Believe me. It was a principal thing. That's it.
All right, so any further questions from members of the committee?
I have one, and I'm sorry I'm beating this down, but Councilman Lattiser made a recommendation. I want to give Mr. Nazarian an opportunity to think about this. So you're saying you're fine with the 300, and I get that. But I'm willing to hold this, or if I'm correct, and you go to your insurance and resubmit, and if you can get the full amount, what is there to lose? USAA, I mean, you can go to them and say it's already been deducted. I agree with what.
They paid for what they paid for, and that was all they would pay for.
Okay, so you want to move forward? I'm fine with moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, he would still have his deductible of $500. Even if the insurance company paid for the claim, he'll still be sitting on his deductible.
Any further questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Seeing none, we can entertain a motion.
Move for favorable action, the amount of 300.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next we have a claim by Shelley Traeger. Although we received a notice requesting that this be held till June 3rd, we just need a motion.
Move to hold till June 3rd.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
PCR.
Oh, yeah, it's going to have a PCR number. So the claim of Shelley Traeger is now PCR 7719, and it's being held till June 3rd. The next claim is Michelle, apologies, Policio. Hi, you could just state your name for the record.
Michelle Policio.
And it looks like you had damage from a pothole. Your affidavit's filled out correctly. The department recommended approval in the amount of $286.62. Does anyone have any questions, members of the committee?
No questions.
Do any members of the council have any questions? Do any members of the public have any questions? Seeing none, we can entertain a motion.
Move for favorable action in the amount of, I apologize. Thank you, $286.62.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Do we do a motion that way? Sure. You okay? I have no idea. The minutes from the consent calendar, do we do them here?
I have no.
This one.
Oh, yeah, those are the ones I held up before. Where they go?
Oh, yeah, April 1st. Got it.
So we have acceptance of minutes from the claims docket for the April 1st meeting.
Motion to accept? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So now we're good, right? All right, so public safety is adjourned at 8:07 PM.
I got another claim here. Right after Michelle. Hold. Oh, 6-3, that's it. I'm just holding. Intergovernmental.
Intergovernmental committee, please.
Public safety.
Councilman Qualley, Councilman Howe, Councilman McElroy.
Your turn. No appointment.
Okay, this is the Intergovernmental Committee, and it is 8:09. We have 3 items on the agenda. First one's PCR-42-19, a resolution to the General Assembly in support of amendments to the Sewer Authority Enabling Act to add 2 board members, financing terms, and septic systems. It was sponsored by Councilman Lattiser.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, which item are you on?
This is the item to add 2 members to the Warwick Sewer Authority.
Okay.
PCR 4219.
I'm going to have to hold till May 20th.
The sponsor's requesting to hold it till May 20th.
Move to hold till May 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second item on the agenda is PCR-67-19, a resolution to the State Traffic Commission and the State Department of Transportation requesting a traffic study of the area of Centerville Road 117, Route 117, and Gorvin Drive. This is from Councilman Sinapi.
Hi, so this bill more or less speaks for itself. This is due to unsafe issue which has become more apparent due to the construction that's been ongoing in that area. I've had complaints from constituents requesting action on it. And due to the fact that the area in question is unfortunately a state road, we're stuck with requesting the state conduct a study and look into it on their end. So I'd move for favorable action.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions? Anyone on the council have any questions? Does anyone from the public have any questions? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to move for favorable action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The third item on the agenda is PCR 68-19, a resolution to the General Assembly requesting an increase in state funding for education. And this is Councilman Sinapi.
Again, this one more or less speaks for itself. The continued implication of unfunded mandates from the state, the continued decline in funding from the state, especially while other cities get more and more, and obviously both our city and our school system is badly in need of funds. So I think this will have widespread support, I imagine, and I move for favorable action. And I should add that this is not just us doing this, cities and towns across the state. Many of them are requesting the same and passing a similar, if not identical, resolution.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions? Any comments?
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor, if that's okay with the Mrs. Councilman.
Of course.
Thank you.
I would like to be a sponsor also.
The more the merrier.
Okay, so Councilman Lattiser,
Yes.
Councilwoman Travis, I would like to add myself, and Councilman McAllister, and over in Ward 2, Sleepy Time. Councilman Ricks would like to be added as a sponsor. And now, anyone from the public like to testify?
Gentlemen, ladies, my name is Gene Nato. Recently ended my 8 years on the Warwick School Committee. And 8 years ago, I brought this up also at that time, that we were not being funded correctly by the state of Rhode Island for the education of our students. And since that time, the situation has only gotten worse. Our students are not getting what they need, and this resolution certainly is going to be helpful. At the present time, with the state budget for the schools totaling some $850 million, Warwick is now at $36 million. We were, when I talked about this 7 years ago, we were at $32 million, the same as the city of Cranston. Since that time, the city of Cranston now is at $64 million. We're at $36 million. The city of Providence is at $275 million. City of Pawtucket is at 80-something million dollars. Woonsocket is 75 million, and the city of Central Falls is at $40 million. Our taxpayers here in Warwick are sending money of the millions of dollars to these cities for their schools when we're being shortchanged. Why? Because we don't have enough students that have breakfast. We don't have enough students going for the lunch. We don't have enough students that speak English. And we're being penalized up and down. There's 140,000 students in Rhode Island that should be treated fairly, no matter what the circumstances are. And I don't think our students deserve this kind of treatment. And yet, I see the new one that just came in to replace the Rhode Island Department of Education, and that from New York City. And all that she is saying is that what she is saying backs up the city of Providence and the city of Central Falls. We're not going to be given in Warwick our fair share. And it's time for this apportionate money be rectified. The city provides the city of Warwick in our school department of $124 million. That's a lot of money. But when you only get $36 million from the state, when we should be up to $50 or $60 million, that's where the discrepancy lies. And I don't know, we have the seniority up at the State House from the city of Warwick representatives and senator. I don't understand why they haven't been able to jump up the money that we get, except the one that's in charge of the House of Representatives from Cranston has double the amount of money that the city gets. There's not a fairness here. We have programs in our schools that are not being met, and you know the repairs and rehabilitation problem. So I ask that this resolution certainly be passed. And Mr. Sinapi, I appreciate the fact that you're recommending this resolution, but more needs to be done. We don't deserve this. Our students don't deserve it. And so does the taxpayers of Warwick don't deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nadeau. Anyone else wish to be heard? Is there a motion?
Move for favorable action, PCR 68-19.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask to reopen PCR 42-19 regarding amendments to the sewer authority.
Motion to reconsider PCR 42-19.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any reopening?
Sorry. Aye.
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 Okay, PCR 42-19 is reopened for discussion.
Thank you. So I just need to review with Solicitor Harrington. John, on these items here, it doesn't line up with, oh, right here, okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, if you go to item 17, I'm looking to make an amendment on this. If you go to line 17 on the last page, it begins with "be it further resolved." Okay?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, I want to make the amendment on line 19. I want to add prospectively, and I want to remove for the revenue bond approved by the city in December of 2013. be based on a payback of 30 years. So the change is on line item 19, prospectively, and to delete for the revenue bond approved by the city in December of 2013.
Councilman, you want the word prospectively to be where on line 19? Before or after what word?
It says, the enabling act for the Warwick Sewer Authority to provide that. So after that, it would say prospectively, eliminate the word the. It would say for that, eliminate the word the on 18 and put in prospectively. The sewer assessments. Or actually, I guess you could say, after the word that, insert prospectively the sewer assessments.
Okay, I have the amendment to read Warwick Sewer Authority to provide that prospectively the sewer assessments for the revenue bond. Does that read correctly?
Yes.
And did you say there was a second?
Yes, it
Part
would
of
be
that?
after sewer assessments, you'd be removing the wording where it says for the revenue bond approved by the city in December of
You want to delete that?
2013. Yes.
You want to delete that entire phrase beginning with the, after sewer assessments, we're striking for?
Through December of 2013. Strike that.
Okay, so we strike to, it will now read to provide that, I'll start at the beginning of line 18. General Assembly to amend the Enabling Act for the Warwick Sewer Authority to provide that prospectively the sewer assessments be based on a payback of 30 years with simple interest, semicolon, in. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, now, anyone else on the council or the committee have any suggested amendments while we're amending this? Okay. Is there any comment from the public on the proposed amendment? We have an amendment before us. Is there any motion?
Motion to move as amended?
Second.
Motion moving to amend it. Okay, so this is a motion to amend.
Motion to amend, I apologize, yes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And now we have the amended PCR in front of us. Before you move, can ask, does anyone on the committee have any further comment on the amended PCR? Anyone on the council have any comment? Anyone from the public have any comment? On the amended PCR, is there a motion?
Move as amended?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of favorable
Aye.
action? Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe that concludes the intergovernmental committee at 8:23.
At 8:24, the Economic Development Committee will meet. Accepted of minutes from, whatever date it was, April 1.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And it's not drafted, so we're going to hold it.
Hold till June 17th.
So moved.
Being held till
Second.
June 17th.
Thank
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
What time is it? 8:24. 8:23?
Less than a minute.
8:24, 1 minute. Woo-hoo.
Less than a minute.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. At this time, the council president is not present, and I will be assuming the job of pro temp. So at this time, I'm going to call a 10-minute recess, and we'll get back to business after that. Thank you.
Now what? Jesus. Got everybody calling me today.
This is pretty simple.
I'll put it on my Right. We didn't even start the meeting yet. No, we just finished all the committees. Now we're going, and Steve ain't here, so Ed's gonna run the meeting. This ought to be a nightmare. So this ought to be fun. So it's, what is it, 8:30? Is it, no, what, is it 8? Yeah, because I just did my committee report. 1 minute it took me to have nothing. Oh, yeah? Oh, good. Then that'll be one thing less. Yeah. Now, for lunch, I think I'm going to take a salad with tuna on it. Yeah. I'll tell you. Everybody must have ran out and got coffee. It's right now. It's like, I don't know what everybody is. Gary's wife was here. She hit a pothole. You know who's here too? Karen. Gary, I told you, I forgot to tell you, he got, I didn't talk to him, he waved. Danny's son, whatever. He got promotion again too. I think he's a lieutenant. And then he's something in a captain.
All right, so, let's see here.
Yeah. I didn't go congratulate. I'm gonna go congratulate him right now. I see it on my phone. All right, bye-bye. Oh, okay.
So, when you call, so this was favorable action. How about this one? So that's just the bid package. Oh, okay. So favorable action. Yeah. Okay. Favorable action. Hold. Was hold. Down here was the hold in May 20. Okay. Favorable hold in May 20. So this 5 was favorable? Mm-hmm. I think that's what I was supposed to say here. Move fave. All right. And then hold May 20, hold May 20. Any questions on the bids? The first couple is, number, the name, favorable action. Number, name, favorable action. Number, name, favorable action. Just keep running to 2018's BPCR 7219. 2020, BPCR. All right. So do I do 250 and 75 or just the full number? Because remember it was 2 lines. So that's all I wrote. Okay. Well, you can, so you're amending it, so what you're technically amending is this. Yeah. Is the 325. So I'm just going to say you can just say that.
Warwick City Council is now called to order.
All right.
Madam Clerk, call the roll. Here.
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 Thank you. All stand for the salute to the flag, led by Councilwoman Travis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. So as I had indicated at the beginning of the Finance Committee meeting, Council President Marola was tied up on a business engagement, and he was not sure if he would make it and what time. So apparently I drew the short straw, so you're stuck with me for the evening. And this is my first go-round, so everybody be nice. Executive communications are on none. General communications, Ward 1.
Pass.
Ward 2.
Pass.
Ward 3.
Pass.
Ward 4.
Pass.
Ward 6.
Mr. President, because of the, Mr. President, I'll call you Mr. President. Because of the late hour, I won't get into too much detail, but I did have school issues last week with the administration on a number of issues that, because of timely manner, I won't bring it up now. But today I did hear something about lunch program, and I'm sure everybody else has heard something. And it's the sad part of it that the public doesn't know that we have nothing to do with that. So we're getting the phone calls on it. But at another time, I will bring up to date on some of the issues last week I had. So I'm being no summer school this year and some teacher issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Ward 7.
Yes, I just want to make an announcement that I will be leading and being part of a group going down to Washington, D.C. starting tomorrow for a few days. I'm going with Chambers of Commerce presidents, business owners, business leaders from New England, mostly Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and some in New Hampshire as well. We are going to meet with close to a dozen Congress people and U.S. senators, and we are going to be talking about the critical need to get a infrastructure bill done at the federal level. We see it here all today. Just today is a perfect example. Our Public Safety Committee was well over an hour because we had so many different claims. Infrastructure is not just roads and bridges, it's sewers, it's ports, it's airports, it's cybersecurity, it's schools, school buildings, and we're at a time where this is something that I think could get done in Washington, D.C., so I'm going to be part of a group going down there to advocate with this, and I don't know if I can straighten everything out in Washington the 3 days I'm down there, but I'm going to try. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with that, Councilman. Ward 8. All right. Need the motion for acceptance of the minutes. There are none. Announcements of appointments. There are none. Appointments requiring confirmation. There are none. The consent calendar. So PCR 6919, Finance.
I move favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilwoman Travis, second. Councilman Howe. Go ahead.
Okay, first on the docket is bid number 2009-280, East Greenwich Yard Waste Program, favorable action. 2016-171, State of RI Software Government Agreement, favorable action. 2019-186, State of RI Government Computer Equipment, favorable action. 2019-259, Gatsby Day Fireworks Display, favorable action. 2020-034, Independence Day Fireworks Display, favorable action. 2020-007, National Night Out Fireworks Display, favorable action. 2020-008, City of Warwick and Warwick Public Schools Medical, Pharmacy, and Dental Insurance Benefits has become PCR 72-19. 2020-010, Collection Services, Taxes, and Rescue Fees has become PCR 73-19. 2020-013, Zamboni Blade Sharpening, favorable action. 2020-016, Food Service Products, favorable action. 2020-022, Paper Products, favorable action. 2020-025, Sand, Gravel, and Stone has become PCR 74-19. 2019-306, Repairs, favorable action. 2019-308, Purchase Simon Fire Truck, favorable action. 2020-032, Document Management System, favorable action. 2020-036, Disposal of Waste and Recyclables, favorable action. 2020-039, Munis Software Maintenance, favorable action.
Thank you, Councilman. PCR 70-19, resolution relative to abatements. Finance.
Favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilman McAllister.
I move favorable action.
Seconded by Councilwoman Travis. Councilman Howe. Go ahead, Councilman.
These are abatements for $3,831.73. We talked about this in committee. There was some adjustments from the state motor vehicles and some individuals that should have received an abatement and they didn't, and that clears this up.
Any questions on the abatements? Have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move to PCR 7119, resolution relative to claims. Public safety. Favorable action. We have a recommendation for favorable action. For action, Councilman Sinapi. Move favorable action. We have motion favorable, second by Councilwoman Travis. Councilman Howe. Go ahead, Councilman Sinapi.
So the claim for Ryan Ball has become PCR 75-19. Claim for Edward Allinson. Recommended approval for the amount of $114.97.
Councilman, use the mic. We can't hear you. Thank you.
My apologies. The claim for Edward Allinson was approved for $114.93. The claim for Doreen Ireland was approved for the amount of $146.96. The claim for Ulrich Murphy was approved in the amount of $300. The claim for Brian Bongiovanni was approved in the amount of $300. The claim for Emily Beaudreau was approved in the amount of $300. The claim for Maja Vezovic was approved in the amount of $300. The claim for Shirley Brown Mullen now becomes PCR 76-19. The claim for John Nazarian was approved in the amount of $300. The claim for Shelley Traeger now becomes PCR 77-19. And the claim for Michelle Policio, recommended approval for $286.62. So that's the end of the consent claims.
Any questions? Any questions on the claims? Hearing none, call for a vote on it, John? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call for a vote on the consent calendar.
Move for favorable action already? Okay, fine, thank you. Yes.
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 Motion passes.
All right, so we'll do the bids first.
Now, right, so we'll go back to the claims held. The first claim held is PCR 7219.
7219, yes. Finance Committee recommends to hold to May 20th.
Recommend to hold to May 20th. Okay, PCR 7319.
PCR 7319, favorable action with an amendment.
For the amendment.
Favorable action with amendment.
We need a second on favorable action on the amendment. Second by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. For action, Councilman McAllister.
Thank you. We are changing the contract period to a one-year period, so it will end on 6/30/20. And we're also changing the contract award to $325,000, which is dividing, because it was originally a two-year, it's dividing the two lines from 250,000 and 75,000. Okay, and we're also changing the account numbers from, is that a 7?
The first one was 250,000, and that amount comes from this.
Okay, so we're changing, it's coming from, the 250,000 is coming from 22,360, and the second amount of 75,000 is coming from 302-0408.
Correct. Okay, need a motion for favorable on the amendment.
So I move that as my...
Okay. Seconded by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, you gotta...
Call the roll, clerk. On the amendment first.
Yes.
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 Motion passes.
Then I
Moved as amendment.
I move favorable as amended.
Seconded by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. Clerk, call the roll.
Yes.
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 Next item is PCR 7419.
Yes, we move favorable action with an amendment.
Move for the amendment.
I move favorable with an amendment.
We have a second, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. And read the amendment, please.
Sure. The amendment, we want to take out the vendor PJ Keating Company, and we want to add Rawson Materials.
Okay, any questions on that? A second, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. Any further discussion? Clerk will call the roll on the amendment.
Yes.
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 Move the amendment.
Yes, I move favorable as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. Clerk, any questions, any discussions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Passes as amended. Item number 4, PCR 7519. Finance. I'm sorry, it's claims.
So the recommendation is to hold until May 20th?
We have a recommendation to hold to May 20th. PCR 7619. Claims.
Recommendation is to hold until May 20th?
Hold to May 20th. 7719.
Recommendation is to hold until July 3rd. Oh, sorry, June 3rd.
June 3rd. Hold till June 3rd. PCO 8-19. Qualification for appointment to Land Trust. Ordinance.
Favorable action.
For action, Councilman McAllister.
I move favorable action for second passage on PCO 8-19.
We have a second. We have a second by Councilman Qualley, Councilman Howe. All those in favor, any other questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Yes.
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 Thank you. PCR 15218, resolution relative to abatements. Finance.
Finance recommends favorable action.
For action, Councilman McAllister.
I move favorable action.
Seconded by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. Clerk will call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes. PCR 2119, a resolution relative to the Education Outreach Committee. Health, Education, and Welfare.
Hold till May 20th.
Hold till May 20th. PCR 4219, resolution to the General Assembly in support of amendments to the Sewer Authority Enabling Act to add 2 board members, financing terms, and septic systems. Intergovernmental.
Favorable action with an amendment.
We have a motion for favorable action. We have a second. We have a second. If the solicitor could read in the amendment into the record, please.
The amendment is on page 2 in the second, in the paragraph that says, "Be it further resolved." At the beginning of line 19, add the word prospectively, and on that same line, delete "for the revenue bond approved by the city in December of 2013. Those are the 2 amendments.
Need a motion for favorable on the amendment. Have a motion by Councilman Howe, seconded by Councilman McAllister. Any questions? Any discussions on the amendment? Clerk, call the roll on the amendment.
Yes.
Here, yes.
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 Move the amendment as amended.
Now we want to move for favorable action as amended.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman McAllister. Clerk, call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. PCR 4619, Economic Development,
Being held till June 17th.
held to June 17th. PCR 5019, claimed by Melanie Shackelford, Public Safety.
Recommendations for favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilman Sinapi.
The recommendation was for $116.92 for favorable action.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Ricks, Councilman Howe. Any questions, discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. PCR 5419, claim Francis Delbonis, Public Safety.
Recommendation for favorable action.
Favorable action, Councilman Sinapi.
The recommendation was for approval of $158.23.
We have a motion for approval. We have a second by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. Any questions, any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. PCR 5719 was formerly 2019-266 for Action Finance.
Hold to May 20.
Hold to May 20th. PCR 5919, formerly 2019-271, maintenance contract for laptops, tablets, finance.
Move favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilman McAllister.
I move favorable action on PCR
Motion for favorable, seconded
58-19.
by Councilwoman Travis and Councilman Howe. Any questions, discussion for action? City Clerk?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. PCR 5919, formerly 2019-277, fire apparatus repair, finance.
Committee recommends a hold to May 20.
Hold on May 20th. PCR 6219, formerly 2020-019, finance.
Committee recommends hold to May 20.
Hold on May 20th. Under new business, PCO 1019, ordinance in regard to water discharge, ordinance.
Committee recommends hold to May 20.
Hold on May 20th. PCO 1119, amendment to the ordinance relative to parking on Hef Jones Way, public safety.
Hold to May 20th.
Hold on May 20th?
Yes.
Hold on May 20th. PCO 1219, ordinance regards to no parking between signs on Eaton Avenue to be placed at NG pole number 12, pointed towards Bluff, public safety.
Recommendation for favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilman Sinapi.
Committee recommends favorable action.
We have a motion favorable. I'm sorry, Councilman Howe, Councilman McElroy.
Move favorable action.
Favorable action. Thank you. I'm entitled. We have a second by also Councilman Howe, Councilman Corley, Councilwoman Travis. Any further questions, discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. PCR 6719, a resolution to the State Traffic Commission and the State Department of Transportation requesting a traffic study for the area of Centerville Road, Route 117, and Gorvin Drive, intergovernmental.
Request favorable action.
For favorable action, Councilman Sinapi.
Request favorable action.
We have favorable action, seconded by Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Howe. Any further discussion, comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. PCR 68-19, a resolution to the General Assembly requesting an increase in state funding for Action Intergovernmental.
Favorable action?
For Action, Councilman Sinapi.
Request for favorable action.
We have a request for favorable, seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilwoman Howe, Councilman McElroy, Councilman Howe, Councilman Corley, Councilman Ricks, Councilman Lattiser. For Action, I'm sorry, any further questions? And Councilwoman Travis, I thought I rumbled that out quickly, but. Any other questions? Clerk, call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. We have anything on unanimous consent? Ward 1. Pass. Ward 2.
Pass.
Ward 3.
Pass.
Ward 4.
Pass.
Ward 6.
Pass.
Ward 7.
Pass.
Ward 8.
Pass.
And I pass as well. Councilwoman Chavez, if you...
If there be no further business from this honorable body, I'll move to a docket session.
Move to the docket session, seconded by Councilman Howe. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Ward 1.
Pass.
Ward 2.
Pass.
Ward 3.
Pass.
Ward 4.
Pass.
Ward 5. I'm sorry, I'll get back to me. Ward 6.
I have two of them.
Go ahead.
I have a resolution in regards to erect a stop sign at the intersection of Uncas Street and Ottawa Avenue.
Public safety? Public safety.
Okay. The second one is a request for the school committee to put summer school back in the 2019 and 2020 budget.
Finance? Finance. Ward 7.
Pass.
Ward 8.
Just one. Vote of no confidence regarding Anthony Ferrucci, Chief Budget Officer of the Warwick School Department.
Intergovernmental. Anything else, Councilman Sinapi?
No, thank you.
I have two. They're going to be a resolution. Tentative title is a resolution relative to transfers, supplemental appropriations, and emergency appropriations. Finance. Tentative title, again, it's a resolution adopting and setting the tax rate of the City of Warwick for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, ending June 30th, 2020. Finance. Any other business before this honorable body? If not, we stand adjourned in record time, I might add. That wasn't my fault.